This guy is just playing and streaming a game with only one viewer. Then suddenly that one viewer sends a message saying he's been chosen. Before he can figure out what's going on, he passes out and falls from his chair. When he wakes up, he hears explosions outside and rushes to the window, only to see the entire city engulfed in flames. Deciding to head outside, he tries to speak to a woman, but she runs away in fear. Strangely, a chat window appears right in front of Cheonsu, and he's stunned to see users commenting on everything he says. The users mock him as he wonders if the long hours of streaming have affected his mind. One of them warns that someone is coming for him. Suddenly, a zombie appears right in front of Cheonsu. The chat erupts with predictions of his immediate demise. The zombie attacks, but our hero manages to escape. He rushes into his apartment building, but the zombie smashes through the door. Trying to reach his apartment, he ends up at the entrance to the roof instead. The door is stuck. Some users urge him to pull while others tell him to push. Finally, the door swings open and Cheonsu makes it to the rooftop, slamming the door behind him and gasping for breath. He recalls everything, from the explosion to the bizarre chat window, and decides he needs a weapon to face the zombie. Unexpectedly, his landlord, now a zombie, approaches. Cheonsu trips and falls, giving the landlord zombie an opening to attack. A user jokes about whether the landlord is actually a supply chest, prompting Cheonsu to look closer. He kicks the zombie back, and when it lunges again, he shoves it off the roof. The users call it luck. Before he can catch his breath, the rooftop door bursts open as two more zombies reach it. Our boy bumps into a supply chest, immediately opens it, and finds a bat inside. The door slams open and the zombies emerge onto the rooftop. Cheonsu smirks, determined to take them on, even if the end of the world feels like just another game. The zombies growl as Cheonsu swings his bat at them, but he can't land a single hit. He screams in frustration while continuing to swing, internally admitting that he can't wield the bat properly. In desperation, he tries punching the zombies, only to end up falling to the floor. Realizing that taking them down one by one is pointless, our boy breaks his bat and stabs all three zombies at once with the sharp end. Afterward, he returns to his apartment and discovers that both his PC and phone are dead. A user asks about his plans, and our protagonist responds that he's heading to his parents' house. He rides his moped through the chaotic streets as the users chatter away. Remembering how bad things are downtown, he grows worried about his family. Suddenly, a long tongue shoots out in front of him. Cheonsu loses his balance and crashes his moped. A user asks if that really was a tongue. As Cheonsu gets back up, he spots the hellfrog watching him closely. He's stunned to see there are creatures beyond just zombies. One user jokes that the tongue looks like measuring tape. Dodging another attack, he darts into an alley, deciding to take sharp turns to avoid the creature. He pulls out a lighter and a bottle of alcohol from his backpack, ready to make a stand at a dead end. The frog lunges, but Cheonsu dodges, sending it crashing into the trash. He quickly lights the alcohol bottle and throws it at the frog, then hurls a second burning bottle straight into its mouth. Realizing the monster's weakness is being attacked from the inside, our hero grabs his last bottle, determined to finish the job. He taunts the frog to come at him, and when it lashes out its tongue, Cheonsu seizes the moment, tossing the burning bottle into its mouth. The creature falls, writhing in a blaze before finally dying. One user remarks that they've never seen anyone perform so well in the early stages of the game. Cheonsu wonders if they really see this as a game while his life is on the line. Unsure whether any of this is real, he resolves not to die a fool's death. A system window pops up, and our boy learns he has gained the aggro and record-keeping skill. Realizing this is just like a game, he says, "Skills panel," and a new window appears, detailing his skills effects. He finds out he'll have to rush into danger first because of this ability. Closing the panel, Cheonsu decides to focus on finding his family. He discovers his moped is beyond repair, but fortunately, he's close enough to walk. When he arrives at his parents' house, he finds the building nearly destroyed. He rushes inside to search for them, but sadly, he comes up empty-handed. Then, he starts looking for a note they might have left behind and finds it in his room. His parents have written that they evacuated with the military's 7.5th Division. Cheonsu freezes as he reads the name of the 7.5th Division. The users comment, asking if his parents have abandoned him or if he's about to cry. Cheonsu feels uneasy. His father would never leave him like this. It dawns on him that, if this world operates like a game, then the missing person scenario must be set up intentionally for story progression. He decides not to act rashly, realizing his only clue is the 7.5th Division. Checking the kitchen, our boy finds some tuna. He decides to eat before leaving, since there's little else to do. Suddenly, a noise catches his attention. Grabbing a kitchen knife, he cautiously searches the house. A crash from outside the window startles him. When he opens it, a zombie grabs his arm, trying to haul itself inside. Cheonsu fends it off with the knife and shuts the window. The system notifies him, Aggroed 1, AO958. Cheonsu wonders if his skill activated because of that zombie, recalling that for the next 10 minutes, he gets a boost for defeating each enemy. Eager to test this, he confronts another zombie at the door, eliminating it with a hammer. The skill tallies the kill. He repeats this process, striking down 7 zombies altogether. Before he can check his skill progress, a noise from the kitchen draws his attention. There, he discovers a man hiding under the table. The stranger, grateful to be found, cooks a meal for them both. Addressing his audience as bros, our hero jokes that he was planning to eat anyway and reassures them he'll act if there's any danger. As the man serves the meal, he explains that he's one of the cooking staff at Seo Eats. He'd come to collect plates, but was attacked by zombies when they were short on delivery staff. Cheonsu recalls that the man had apologized for hiding in his house, begged not to be thrown out, and had offered to cook a meal in return. Now, Cheonsu praises the meal and mentions he'll head out soon to gather more information. The stranger offers to accompany him, explaining that the elementary school in front of his restaurant has become a shelter, and Cheonsu could learn more from people there. Our hero considers that, if this really is a game, then this man might be an NPC meant to provide a hint to advance the story. He asks for the man's name, confirming it's Mingyu Zhang. After they finish eating, Cheonsu learns that Mingyu left his moped behind while escaping. Cheonsu remembers a bike in the garage and prepares to retrieve it, while Mingyu volunteers to keep watch. A short while later, Mingyu's scream rings out. Rushing outside, our hero sees a huge monster clutching Mingyu, ready to devour him. The users, his bros, refer to the creature as Big Head and advise ignoring it or risking death. Deciding quickly, Cheonsu races to the garage, retrieves the bike, and escapes as Big Head eats Mingyu. While riding, he spots Mingyu's moped, complete with keys. He switches to the moped, considering how to deal with the monster pursuing him. Meanwhile, at the elementary school shelter, an officer orders everyone inside so barricades can be set up. Mingyu's senior grows furious when told that Mingyu may already be dead, but Mr. Zhang, an elderly man, calms him and encourages everyone to get inside. Just then, Cheonsu arrives at the shelter, riding the moped and dragging something behind him. Mr. Zhang notices and reacts to the unusual sight. The object Cheonsu drags behind his moped is a massive finger, leaving everyone at the shelter stunned. Mr. Zhang anxiously asks about Mingyu. Cheonsu simply states that Mingyu is dead, then quickly adds that he's in a hurry and asks who's in charge. Seojin Lee, Chief of Security and Transportation, steps forward, explaining that he manages the entrance. Curious, Seojin asks if the giant finger belongs to the big monster. This is how Cheonsu learns more about the creature. Seojin admits he witnessed the monster devour people but could only watch from a distance. Cheonsu reveals that he killed the monster, recalling how he risked his life to bring down Big Head. The beast had chased him relentlessly, destroying everything in its path. At the time, our boy made a bet with his bros. If he survived, they'd owe him a favor. If not, he'd die. Every user, including his only regular viewer, accepted the wager. Reaching a tunnel, Cheonsu lured the monster inside, where it crashed at full speed and lost its life. Back in the present, he explains that he's come to seek shelter. The man in charge insists on checking for infection first. Other survivors urge Seojin to let Cheonsu in, and after a thorough inspection, the officers find nothing wrong and allow him inside. Mr. Zhang asks again if Mingyu is really gone. Cheonsu repeats himself, then asks if they knew each other. Mr. Zhang reveals he owns the restaurant where Mingyu worked. Cheonsu tells him everything that happened, making sure to clarify he didn't steal the moped. With a soft expression, our hero says he'll never forget the mapo tofu Mingyu made for him, then excuses himself and heads inside. Suddenly, the system announces that he's leaving the tutorial area. Now, he can use the information panel to boost his chances of survival. This revelation stuns Cheonsu. Everything so far was just a tutorial. He finds an empty classroom and says he wants to speak with only one, recalling the bet he accepted. Only one asks if he wants to talk, and our hero demands an explanation. One bro asks if he didn't get any instructions, and Cheonsu says he didn't, shocking the crowd. A user comments that if Cheonsu beats the game, the world will be recreated according to his will. Only one explains that this is the original world Cheonsu lived in, and that they only used My Exit. He adds that Cheonsu is the sole player and the only one able to interact with them. He's the main character. Our hero then asks if Mingyu was an NPC and only one confirms it. Only one warns him to treat the users like his viewers. If he doesn't clear the game, the world will remain as it is. Nervously, our boy asks who only one truly is, but only one responds by asking if his own characters would ever question him like that. Only one remarks that he likes our hero's swordsmanship and challenges him to go out and show something impressive. Suddenly, Cheonsu remembers the information panel he just gained access to. He opens it and sees that his objective is to save the police chief at the school. Later, out on the school grounds, police officers are busy organizing a food stand. Our protagonist notes there are around 150 people gathered here. As a police officer announces the start of food distribution, Cheonsu heads toward the main building, intent on his mission. He asks the stationed officer about the police chief's whereabouts. The officer refuses to answer, but Cheonsu insists he'll help if given the information, suggesting the officer check with Department Chief Lee. The officer radios Chief Lee, who gives permission to share details with Cheonsu. Once it's confirmed that he defeated a monster, the officer explains that the police chief went missing after heading out on patrol and never returned. Cheonsu presses further, questioning why they hadn't organized a search. The officer explains that, with only 30 officers, their resources are stretched too thin. Determined, Cheonsu decides to check the police chief's temporary office for clues, believing they'll need more information to organize a proper search. Inside the office, he finds a map with a location marked on it. Just then, someone knocks on the door. Chief Constable Gyung-ho Jin enters and greets him. They shake hands, but Gyung-ho oddly squeezes his hand and asks what Cheonsu has discovered. Suddenly, screams erupt outside. Cheonsu rushes out and finds infected people mingling among the evacuees, throwing the area into chaos. He quickly decides to help, advising the police to use batons rather than guns. Meanwhile, Mr. Jang steps up, wielding a frying pan to strike the zombies. Taking turns, he and Cheonsu finish off the attackers, Cheonsu using his hammer to great effect. The evacuees demand the gates be opened, and a police officer tries to calm the crowd. One evacuee questions why the infected were allowed through the checkpoint. Cheonsu learns that the infected weren't forced entry. They entered alongside everyone else. Furious at the thought that one of the police might have let them in, our boy decides to leave and search for the missing police chief himself. He approaches Mr. Jang, quietly asking him to keep an eye on the officers and warning him not to join the search party. Cheonsu explains that this is his way of repaying Mingyu's kindness. Chief Lee and Chief Constable Jin try to stop him, but Cheonsu ignores them and heads out, riding Mingyu's moped toward the marked location. After a short ride, he arrives at a deserted spot and begins inspecting the area, finding footprints that he suspects might belong to zombies. Suddenly, our boy wonders aloud why he hasn't received any additional supply chests. One of his bros points out that supply chests are paid content, while another reminds him that he received 1 Zen as a trial, which allowed him to open a chest earlier. They instruct him to tap the chat window and scroll down. Following their advice, he discovers a donations button and sees that his bros have already sent him some funds. He drops to his knees, yelling in exasperation that they didn't tell him about this sooner. Cheonsu heads inside the container house while his bros tease him for screaming earlier and sulking now. Our boy suspects there are still things they're keeping from him. As he inspects the container house, he wonders aloud if the police chief might be held here. Suddenly, a zombie bangs against the window, startling Cheonsu. He realizes those footprints really did belong to zombies. When one tries to force its way through the door, he swiftly kicks it out. He begins dispatching the zombies one after another, activating his aggro ability. With his physical capabilities now boosted by 240%, Cheonsu continues to hunt down the undead until a jeep crashes through, plowing into several zombies just behind him. Dodging out of the way, our hero quickly recognizes that the driver is the one responsible for letting the zombies in. Inside the jeep, Chief Constable Gyung-ho Jin is shocked to see Cheonsu dodging the vehicle and eliminating the zombies single-handedly. Desperate, Gyung-ho slams on the accelerator, aiming for our hero. But when he checks the body he hit, it turns out to be a zombie. In a flash, Cheonsu bangs on the jeep window, demanding that the door be opened. When the chief constable refuses, our hero smashes the window, only to be hit with a stun gun as Gyung-ho starts to drive away. Not backing down, Cheonsu chases after the jeep. Gyung-ho stops between a pair of containers and hits a button, releasing a herd of zombies from inside. Now surrounded, our boy feels his aggro power spike. His physical abilities climb to 500%. He tears through the zombies, but they're overwhelming in number. Realizing he must stop the chief constable, Cheonsu makes a break for him. He finally reaches Gyung-ho and hears him giving orders to relocate the police chief. Our hero grabs his right hand, then his left, crushing them both with sheer force before kicking the constable aside and taking the driver's seat. Finding a pair of handcuffs, he ignores his bros teasing about using them for extra donations and instead cuffs the chief constable to the jeep. Cheonsu then drives the jeep, crushing zombies under its wheels as he heads back toward the school. Suddenly, he spots a teddy bear moving across the road. Startled, he slams on the brakes and watches as the teddy tumbles to the roadside. His bros crack jokes, but Cheonsu is focused only on the bizarre sight of a teddy bear getting up and moving by itself. He keeps his eyes on the odd little figure, wary of what might happen next. Cheonsu stares at the teddy bear in terror, asking his bros what it is. Only one explains that it's the only bear whose purpose is to lead him to a supply chest. Meanwhile, Jung-ho begins to regain consciousness. Our boy presents his brothers with two choices. Either he kindly asks Gyung-ho to go back to sleep, or he uses an electric shock to force him back under. The majority pick the first option, but Cheonsu opts for the second, quickly subduing Gyung-ho before following the teddy. The only bear leads Cheonsu to a supply chest. The chest costs 5 Zen, and the shield icon convinces our hero it won't contain a weapon. Nervously, he buys it, only to receive a flashlight. Disappointed but undeterred, he focuses on returning to the school. At the school, officers debate how a zombie managed to get through the checkpoint, while another urges everyone to prioritize handling the aftermath. Chief Lee steps in, instructing the officers to focus on the citizens and reminding them they should be proud for averting a much larger catastrophe. Later, Chief Lee approaches the officer stationed at the entrance to the main building. He learns that Gyung-ho was tasked with moving the police chief and wonders if this is Cheonsu's doing. He'd found our boy a bit odd from the start. Deciding to take matters into his own hands, Chief Lee insists that only the three of them keep this information secret. Meanwhile, Mr. Jang overhears the entire conversation and suspects they're up to something. He watches as Chief Lee makes his way to the basement. Outside, two officers discover Gyung-ho's jeep and find him dead inside. Elsewhere, Mr. Jang dashes up the stairs in a panic, determined to warn our hero. Unexpectedly, he runs into Cheon-soo, who's wearing a cap and hood. Mr. Jang hurriedly tells him the police chief and Chief Lee are in the basement, and the officer guarding the door is in on it. Our hero wastes no time and heads to the room where the police chief is being held. Inside, Chief Lee threatens the police chief with a stun gun. Meanwhile, one of the bros promises to donate 1 zen if Cheon-soo dropkicks Chief Lee. Without hesitation, our boy charges in and delivers the kick, instantly earning the donation. Chief Lee fires his pistol, but Cheon-soo grabs his hand, causing the shot to go wide. He then knees his opponent as Chief Lee keeps firing until the gun clicks empty. Taking advantage, Cheon-soo lands 3 punches to his face. Demanding the keys, Cheon-soo watches as Chief Lee reaches for the stun gun. Reacting fast, Cheon-soo zaps him with Gyung-ho's stun gun, telling him to give Gyung-ho his regards. Grabbing Chief Lee's pistol, he turns to face the officer guarding the basement. As the officer enters, our boy shoots him in the head, prompting a surge of donations from his amused bros. Returning to Chief Lee, our protagonist points the pistol at him, debating where to shoot. Finally, he presses the barrel to Chief Lee's head, reminding him that he'd been so eager to shoot at him just moments before. One bro donates another zen, and Cheon-soo thanks his bros with a smile, while Chief Lee screams in terror. Chief Lee wets himself in terror, prompting Cheon-soo to put the pistol away. Later, he emerges from the basement, supporting the police chief. Cheon-soo explains to the other officers that those responsible are tied up downstairs. Finally, our hero breathes a sigh of relief and opens his info panel, which hints that staying in one place for too long is dangerous. Later, Cheon-soo rests in a room, reflecting that things have changed a lot in just one day. One bro congratulates him for saving the police chief, while another suggests he should stay put. However, Cheon-soo is uneasy about the info panel's warning and wonders how long is too long. One of his bros suggests watching for an omen to judge when it's time to move, but gives no further clues. Frustrated, our hero eventually decides to get up and head out. Outside, the police chief approaches and asks if he's leaving. Shaking his head, our boy asks what's going on. The police chief thanks him for all his help and says they've decided to resupply him. Cheon-soo recalls that the chief couldn't bring himself to execute his former comrades, so Cheon-soo volunteered to handle it. He tied Chief Lee and the chief constable behind the jeep and drove off, dragging them along. As zombies chased after them, a bro named Torture Enjoyer donated 1 zen. When our hero picked up speed, both chiefs were left behind. He later remarked that they had a little accident during their expulsion. Back in the present, our boy accepts the resupply offer, and the police chief also provides the jeep. That night, our hero sits in his vehicle, inspecting the flashlight. His bros remain vague with hints, so he decides to rest. After a while, he feels a chill and glancing in the mirror, spots a cloaked figure, a skeleton, glaring directly at him. Goosebumps run down his spine as he starts the jeep and speeds off, passing the school and thinking he won't get a proper farewell. He grumbles to his bros about the lack of warning, but one explains they can't help or they'd be kicked out. Looking back, Cheon-soo finds the skeleton has vanished, only for it to suddenly smash through the jeep window, terrifying him. He slams the accelerator, crashing into something. The cloaked skeleton draws closer as our boy jumps out and fires, but the bullets have no effect. He flees into a building, only to find the skeleton right in front of him. The creature lunges, but is struck by the beam of Cheon-soo's flashlight. Realizing its weakness, our hero fires again and escapes through a window, just as Torture Enjoyer donates another zen as a toll for the dead. Outside, he tries to ride a bike, but the tire is flat and he crashes, falling hard. The skeleton closes in, so our boy uses the flashlight and keeps firing, noticing the creature can't move past a certain limit. He fires his last bullet, and the skeleton finally vanishes. Exhausted, Cheon-soo collapses, only to spot something unusual nearby. A flashlight flickers on and off. Cheon-soo watches this carefully. He recognizes the pattern as Morse code and readies his pistol. As the person with the flashlight approaches, our boy immediately points his weapon at him. The stranger, Minchul Yang, is wearing a school uniform and nervously insists he's not a bad person, asking if Cheon-soo is with the police. Cheon-soo learns Minchul is alone and demands his flashlight, which Minchul reluctantly hands over. Next, Cheon-soo tells him to hand over his bag. Minchul protests, explaining it only contains emergency rations, but under pressure, he reveals it's just instant noodles, ham, and tuna. Attempting to leave, Minchul is stopped as our hero orders him to take off his clothes. After verifying Minchul has nothing suspicious on him, Cheon-soo grows thoughtful about how he survived without weapons and accuses him of working with others. He quietly tells his bros to keep an eye on the newcomer as he looks away. Moving off, our boy tells Minchul they should go their separate ways and keeps the flashlight. Minchul, distraught, yells that all his friends died protecting him and breaks down in tears. The bros point out Minchul's distress, making it clear he's telling the truth. Cheonsu softens and tells Mincheol to follow, admitting he can't just abandon an underclassman. Later, chaos erupts as a hell frog attacks with its tongue. Mincheol screams for help, being chased by a big head. Now both are running for their lives. Mincheol leads our hero into an alley, guiding him to take sharp turns to reach a drainage channel, planning to run alongside the edge. As they make it, Big Head stumbles and falls into the water. Up ahead, Cheonsu spots the hell frog's tongue and warns Mincheol to duck on his signal. The frog emerges from a side street and lashes out. Both boys duck, and the tongue smashes into Big Head behind them. Hell Frog and Big Head begin fighting each other, giving Cheonsu and Mincheol a chance to escape. Mincheol then guides him to a bicycle rental shop, and they take off on a tandem bike. Though steering is difficult, Mincheol encourages him, saying they're almost at their destination. He explains he found the place on a map, describing it as very safe and well-equipped. Mincheol asks if Cheonsu knows anything about the 7.5th Division, sharing that he'd searched for a friend but only found a note saying the 7.5th Division had picked them up. Our boy admits he doesn't know much either, and wonders if they're only selecting certain people. Finally, they arrive at their destination, just as a jeep crashes right in front of them. Cheonsu rushes over and finds a person inside. Determining he's human, our hero drags him out and learns his name, Yongjin Cho, a private. He searches the jeep for supplies but comes up empty. Suddenly, Yongjin pulls a knife, but Cheonsu kicks it away and seizes the weapon, declaring Yongjin a deserter. He demands to know why a private is here, and if he betrayed his comrades. Yongjin, panicking, insists everyone else died, and he's the only survivor. Mincheol wonders aloud if Yongjin is really a soldier. Inspecting him closely, Cheonsu pulls out Yongjin's ID tag and orders him to recite his service number to prove he knows it by heart. Yongjin successfully recites his service number, but Cheonsu remains wary. He questions Yongjin about the 7.5th Division, but Yongjin insists it's the first he's heard of it. Mincheol points out that it's dangerous to be outside for too long, and our boy agrees, hopping over the jeep to cross the gate. Mincheol hesitates to leave Yongjin behind, but Cheonsu dismisses him as useless. Mincheol presses further, and Yongjin desperately begs to be taken along, explaining that his leg is broken too. Cheonsu recalls Yongjin's earlier desire to be left alone, but Yongjin admits he only said that out of fear. Reluctantly, our hero agrees to bring him in, though there's no power to operate the gate. He instructs Mincheol to open the gate manually and help Yongjin inside. Once all three are inside, Cheonsu notices there are only 4 cars in the parking lot and wonders why the gates are closed if people have already left with their vehicles. As they explore the building, they find it empty. Mincheol retrieves a crutch from the infirmary for Yongjin, while our boy announces he's going to scout the area. Mincheol nervously grabs his sleeve, concerned about being left behind, but Cheonsu reassures him with a nod. While heading upstairs, Cheonsu quietly asks his bros whether he should leave Mincheol or not, considering the vending machines make this a relatively safe spot. His bros, however, don't agree with the idea. Suddenly, our boy hears a voice coming from a radio in a nearby room. He discovers there's still power and learns from the broadcast that the 7.4th Division is directing people to Jeju Island, and everyone is being instructed to reach Daejeon by train. Sensing a lead, Cheonsu summons his info panel, which now directs him to escape the city via the train station. His bros get excited, remarking on the long journey ahead. Heading back downstairs, our boy finds only Yongjin on a bed. Mincheol has gone to the basement to investigate a strange noise. Instantly, Cheonsu heads to the office, hoping to find taxi keys for their escape, suspecting someone may have deliberately turned off the lights. While searching, he hears a noise and returns to Yongjin, only to find him on the floor. Although Cheonsu suspects a monster, Yongjin sheepishly admits he just fell. Suddenly, footsteps echo from the stairs, and both tense up as a man appears, holding Mincheol with a knife to his throat. Mincheol urges Cheonsu to leave, but our boy simply asks why. He brandishes his own knife, demanding the man let Mincheol go. The man, revealed to be the company owner, calls Mincheol a thief for breaking into his business, claiming he's too busy taking customer calls to deal with thieves, and complaining about a shortage of drivers. Yongjin worries Mincheol might get stabbed, but our hero admits it's his fault for sending him alone. Thinking quickly, Cheonsu puts on an act, claiming he's not a thief, but a driver here to help, boasting about his skills and offering to handle all the customers. He insists the owner interview him. The owner asks for his application so they can proceed. Cheonsu bluffs that he left it in the office and quietly instructs Yongjin to grab any application that resembles him. Yongjin sneaks off and soon hands an application to someone matching Cheonsu's description. As the owner becomes absorbed in reading it, Mincheol seizes the moment to kick him, and our boy knocks the man out with Yongjin's crutch. With the owner subdued and the keys in hand, they hurry outside and pile into a taxi. Yongjin is surprised to find himself driving despite his broken left leg, but our hero urges him to head for the train station. As they make their escape, people begin to flood into the building seeking shelter, only to be devoured by an approaching monster. The creature draws near the taxi, screeching loudly, while Cheonsu wonders why a crawler would show up here. Fear overtakes Yongjin as he starts the car, quickly turning it toward the main gate. Cheonsu, realizing the monster will soon catch up, notices the company owner stepping out of the main building. Acting fast, our hero advises Yongjin to drive toward the building instead. As the car heads that way, the monster follows. But with a sharp maneuver, Yongjin turns back toward the main gate just in time, causing the monster to smash into the building instead. Back on the road, Yongjin expresses regret for the company owner's fate, but Cheonsu points out there wasn't any other option, and Mincheol agrees. Suddenly, our boy spots a blue line on the door. Crossing it, he learns they've reached a checkpoint. The system announces that the mission setting is now unlocked for the chat, allowing viewers to purchase various effects as rewards for the player. One bro, maxed out card, celebrates his chance to shine, while another jokes about unlocking a pay-to-win feature. Curious, our protagonist wonders if those beside him can see this, but soon learns they can't even hear him talking to the bros. Confused about what's changed, he asks the chat for clarification. Instantly, maxed out card donates 1 Zen, and Cheonsu thanks him, only to hear the crawling monster's stomping return. As the crawler gains on them, Cheonsu urges Yongjin to drive faster, but Yongjin insists this is their top speed. The monster closes the gap, making our hero wonder if it moves faster in a straight line. He quickly asks Mincheol if he knows any alternate routes. After a moment's thought, Mincheol tells Yongjin to head up the hill ahead. Cheonsu insists they follow Mincheol's lead, and the car begins climbing. Soon they approach a cliff. Mincheol urges Yongjin to keep going. Nervous, our hero asks his bros for a mission, fearing the worst. Fortunately, maxed out card sets a challenge. Roll down the window and taunt the crawler, with a reward that will prevent the car from being knocked off the road for 15 seconds. Following instructions, Cheonsu rolls down the window and shouts taunts at the monster, causing it to freeze momentarily. Mincheol, alarmed, yells at him to explain, but our hero keeps taunting the crawler, hoping the plan succeeds. As the mission completes, the effect activates. At the cliff's edge, Yongjin drifts the car, and the crawler tumbles over the side. Yongjin is left baffled by their narrow escape, while Cheonsu thanks maxed out card for the timely mission. Finally, they arrive at the train station, only to find it deserted. Cheonsu suggests hiding and continuing on foot, but Yongjin points out zombies standing ahead. Cheonsu steps out to draw their attention, confronting 3 zombies in total. While reflecting on his increased strength and how he should invest in his skills, he swiftly eliminates 1 zombie, then takes down the others with ease. He notes that both his strength and reflexes have significantly improved since day 1. Lost in thought, he's snapped back to reality by a scream. Cheonsu notices a man struggling against a zombie, calling desperately for Changuk-jeong. Recognizing the name as the mayor's, Cheonsu asks his bros if he should help. All agree except maxed out card. Deciding to act, our hero eliminates the zombie and then asks the man why he was calling for Changuk-jeong. The stranger explains that the mayor abandoned him to die. He recounts how he suggested taking another route after they encountered zombies, but the mayor threw him out of the car for speaking up. Our hero reasons that they'll probably run into the mayor at the station, and the stranger agrees, adding that the mayor has plenty of people protecting him. Cheonsu also learns that the mayor has hired outside help. He thanks the stranger for the information. Reaching the stairs to the main train station, our boy asks the stranger's name, learning he's Mr. Yu. As they ascend, they spot a small girl standing on the steps. Mr. Yu tries to call out, but our hero quickly covers his mouth, whispering that she isn't really a child. The girl is actually a zombie. Cheonsu's bros remark that he has the worst luck. He wonders if he's in real danger and asks for mission rewards. A bro mentions that the last mission from maxed out card was worth 100 Zen, with a single Zen valued at about 753, stunning Cheonsu when he realizes the reward totaled 753. Instructing Mr. Yu to stay quiet, our boy waits as a loud noise erupts from the station. The zombie girl reacts to the sound and heads inside. Mr. Yu, however, refuses to follow and bolts in the opposite direction, only to trip and come face to face with another zombie girl. She kills him, while Cheonsu's bros explain she's a silent girl, a zombie that can't see but reacts to sound. More noises from the station prompt the silent girl to move. Suddenly, New Master launches a mission. Don't move until the silent girl passes. The reward is the ability to take away the hearing of any target Cheonsu touches. Holding his breath, our protagonist stands still as the silent girl moves past without noticing him. When she finally heads inside, he collapses with relief and collects his reward. Stepping down, he checks on Mr. Yu and takes his employee ID card. To his shock, Mr. Yu's body transforms into a zombie, but our hero swiftly eliminates him, realizing the silent girl can turn people into zombies. He rushes inside to find Yongjin and Mincheol, only to see both being chased by silent girls. For a moment, our boy considers leaving them behind, convinced it's not worth the risk. But New Master intervenes with another mission: save Mincheol and Yongjin for a 20 Zen reward. Accepting the challenge, Cheonsu heads to an empty restaurant, grabs a stopwatch, and dubs the plan Operation Self-Destruct Watch. Meanwhile, Mincheol and Yongjin huddle atop toilet stalls as the silent girls claw at the walls. Luckily, our hero arrives, repeatedly beeps the stopwatch, and tosses it out of the bathroom. The silent girls are distracted and chase after the sound. Mincheol and Yongjin quietly climb down, When asked by a bro why he didn't use the mission reward, Cheonsu explains it's too dangerous, as it requires touching the target. Unfortunately, Yongjin admits his ankle is broken, so our protagonist instructs Minchul to help him move. With 20 Zen now in hand, our boy leads them toward the main station, but suddenly notices Yongjin starting to transform into a zombie. Gritting his teeth, Cheonsu pulls Minchul away, declaring it's too late for their companion. Questions swirl in our hero's mind, but he resolves to escape for now. Just then, Yongjin points to the information board, signaling that the train is still running. Cheonsu is shocked to discover that the trains are still running. He thanks Yongjin before moving forward, silently vowing to finish the game and someday repay him. With Minchul by his side, our boy waits for the train but warns Minchul to be cautious, as the train could bring trouble with it. Suddenly, an announcement blares, stating that the incoming train will pass straight through the station. Instantly, they hide in a box. A bullet train rushes past, a crawler pursuing it. Peeking out, our hero wonders aloud what's happening, but another train soon arrives, stopping at the platform. Cheonsu heads out, instructing Minchul to stay put. Approaching the train, he observes the operator, a woman who steps out, furiously demanding to know where the mayor is. While hiding, Cheonsu remembers reading her interview. Her name is Seo Yeon Jang, a train engineer. He overhears her grumbling about the 7.5th Division and cursing the orders she's been given to follow if she wants shelter. Our boy notes that she looks quite different from her interview photo and decides he should get her on his side. Meanwhile, Minchul peeks out and signals that they could take her down since she's alone. Our hero quickly intervenes, calming both Seo Yeon and Minchul. Seo Yeon, suspicious, assumes they're trying to steal her train. Cheonsu flashes Mr. Yu's City Hall ID badge, claiming it as his own. Seo Yeon recognizes his authority, and Cheonsu explains that a lot has happened. The mayor is dead, and they were ambushed on the way here. Now only they survived. Just then, zombie sounds echo through the station. Cheonsu urges that they leave immediately, insisting that only the three of them are left to board. Seo Yeon protests, but our boy points out that with the mayor dead, her contract is void. She reluctantly agrees and lets him on board, and Minchul's pleading expression earns him permission as well. As the train departs, Yongjin, now a zombie, trips on the stairs, while the mayor shouts after the train. Seo Yeon realizes the mayor is still alive, but Cheonsu warns her not to stop or they'll be caught by the silent girls. She hesitates, but ultimately continues. The mayor, desperately invoking the code "The End" to catch a ride, is devoured by zombie Yongjin. Later, inside the control cab, Seo Yeon demands an explanation. Cheonsu repeats that the mayor is dead and insists he was never at the station with him in the first place. She becomes furious, slamming Cheonsu against the wall and demanding to know his true identity. After learning his real name, she accuses him of killing Yonghan Yu, but our boy clarifies he never claimed to be Yonghan Yu. When Seo Yeon threatens to throw them off the train, our protagonist nervously explains their situation. If they hadn't acted, she wouldn't have let them board, and if they had saved the mayor, everyone might have died. Seo Yeon kicks him, sending both Cheonsu and Minchul to the floor. He tries to lighten the mood by mentioning her interview, recalling how she once said, "Free rides depend on passengers' circumstances, because some are going through tough times." When he addresses her by name, she blushes in embarrassment. Quoting the article title, he makes her cringe, but our hero quietly reflects that The Right Path was an unpopular paper only covering society's good side. Finally, Seo Yeon sighs and agrees to work together. Cheonsu asks about their destination and learns they're heading to Daejeon. Curious, he asks about the 7.5th Division. Seo Yeon says she's never heard of them before. They only communicated via radio, stating they needed someone in charge for administrative purposes, hence their interest in the mayor. Cheonsu suspects the division must be a powerful group capable of commanding many people. Suddenly, Minchul spots a silent girl outside the control cab. Our boy signals everyone to stay quiet, noting that the silent girl hasn't noticed them yet. He quietly strategizes about how to deal with her presence. New Master sends a new mission. Kill the silent girl within 5 minutes to receive a reward that allows seeing through the target's eyes. Cheonsu protests, insisting it's impossible. Meanwhile, Maxed Out Card issues a competing mission to kill the silent girl within an hour. This sparks a dispute between New Master and Maxed Out Card. One accuses the other of attempting to set a mission to kill Cheonsu, while the other complains about inadequate compensation for such a task. Despite the confusion, Cheonsu braces himself and approaches the silent girl. After realizing she cannot perceive him, he uses his skill to take away her hearing. He taps her shoulder, which startles the girl and causes her to collapse in fear. As she becomes disoriented, she accidentally falls off the train. To confirm whether she has died, our boy peers down and discovers she's still clinging to the train, even as her legs are being scraped. In response, he stomps on her repeatedly, then stabs her arm several times. Eventually, she loses her grip, falls, and dies, leaving our hero screaming in disbelief. As a result, he receives the rewards for both missions. Cheonsu returns to the control cab, where Minchul expresses concern, and Seo Yeon praises his abilities, remarking that the 7.5th Division just contacted her. They instructed her to stop at the upcoming checkpoint, but our boy quickly asks about the mayor. She explains that initially, the instructions were to proceed directly to Daejeon, but after news about the mayor, the order changed. She was told to leave the train with their mechanic. This strikes Cheonsu as suspicious, so he checks his info panel. It advises our hero not to stop at the checkpoint and mentions another station between that checkpoint and Daejeon. From the group, he learns Seo Yeon can take on 5 opponents in a fight. He then suggests bypassing the checkpoint, reasoning that it's unsafe to trust those people blindly. He points out that they only change plans after learning about the mayor, not because of any damage to the train. Seo Yeon agrees, warning that getting trapped there would be disastrous. Moreover, our protagonist notes that the division only appeared recently, so it's unlikely they're maintaining the checkpoints properly in this situation. Ultimately, Seo Yeon decides to head straight for Daejeon. Still, our hero worries about whether the train can safely stop. Seo Yeon explains there's a branch line just past the checkpoint. If someone switches the tracks, the train will end up on an incomplete line. She concludes that even if they bypass the first checkpoint, they'll still need to stop at the second one. As the train approaches the first checkpoint, our boy uses his skill to amplify his voice, shouting repeatedly that the train is malfunctioning. The soldiers at the checkpoint become confused, having received no such instructions. Cheonsu returns to the control cab and explains that this will influence how the second checkpoint responds. The train passes through the tunnel. Seo Yeon notes they are nearing the branch line, and the soldiers haven't dealt with the zombies. Eventually, they stop the train near the second checkpoint. Seo Yeon instructs Minchul to sound the horn 30 minutes after they leave. Meanwhile, our protagonist explains the need to draw attention. Minchul must sound the horn and start the train immediately. Seo Yeon and Cheonsu then depart, trusting Minchul to handle things. They reach the checkpoint, and Seo Yeon explains that their arrival has gone unnoticed because she slowed the train down well in advance. They decide to approach via the hillside for better cover. Soon, they spot 4 soldiers nearby, discussing plans to kill everyone except the engineer. Upon Seo Yeon's signal, both launch their attack. Our protagonist confidently switches a soldier's rifle to safe mode, while Seo Yeon knocks another down the hill with a kick. She then demands to know who is responsible for the planned killings. The other 2 soldiers flinch, but Seo Yeon quickly strikes one with a rifle and sends him tumbling down the hill. The last soldier begins to plead, but she throws him down as well, leaving no one left to interrogate. Cheonsu picks up a gun and asks Seo Yeon if she knows how to shoot, explaining they'll need to take a more direct approach now. Moving forward, they come across a herd of zombies slowly crawling up a hill. Our hero urges her to hurry. The checkpoint must be cleared quickly. They finally reach the main building, where soldiers are stationed. Our boy counts at least 10 or more inside. He and Seo Yeon position themselves, noting that the zombies will likely rush in as soon as the shooting starts. Despite the risk, time constraints with the train force them to engage. Just as they are about to fire, a soldier opens up on them, triggering a chaotic exchange of bullets. Some soldiers fall, but Cheonsu is injured in the process. He asks his bros if they can help him see the checkpoint, but they can only view things in third person. Despite the struggle, our protagonist focuses on shooting at the remaining enemies. Unexpectedly, Seo Yeon is hit as well, but she reassures him that the bullet only grazed her. After a prolonged firefight, they are left with just 30 rounds. With the soldiers now advancing, the pair decides to retreat. As they run, Cheonsu pleads with his bros for a mission, but none of them want to spend money on someone who's dying. Meanwhile, Maxed Out Card is out of funds and asks others for support, but no one responds. Our boy clenches his teeth, realizing the audience only cares about entertainment. He wonders if he can offer some guarantee of survival to convince them to help. With options running out, he decides to lure the zombies on the cliff toward the soldiers. Confident he can turn the situation around, he shouts to draw the horde's attention. His aggro skill number spikes rapidly, leaving Seo Yeon confused, so our protagonist explains his plan to survive by leading the zombies to the soldiers. He sprints toward the enemy, then surprises everyone with a super jump, clearing the group of soldiers and reaching the main building, with the zombie horde in pursuit. The bros comment that his physical abilities have increased thanks to the high aggro count. Inside the building, our hero hears the chaos behind him. Meanwhile, Seo Yeon struggles to fend off zombies, but he arrives in time to rescue her. He tells her to get on his back, but she hesitates. Without waiting, Cheonsu lifts her up and starts running. After a few minutes, they reach the crank. Cheonsu instructs Seo Yeon to turn it while he holds off the zombies. He listens to the sounds of battle between soldiers and the undead. On the other side, Seo Yeon manages to turn the crank, and our hero instantly picks her up again. Suddenly, they hear the horn of their train but quickly realize it's moving much too fast. As they take in the scene, they see Minchul lying on the floor of the now bloody control cab. The train shows no sign of stopping, so Cheonsu rushes to catch it while carrying Seo Yeon. With his aggro ability at 73 and only 35 seconds remaining, he holds Seo Yeon tightly and draws even more zombies to increase his aggro points. His bros suggest leaving her behind, but suddenly his aggro reaches 90 with just 14 seconds left. Now, with his physical abilities peaking at 1000%, our boy lets out a shout and throws Seo Yeon toward the train. She slams against it but manages to hold on tightly. Meanwhile, Cheonsu sprints and jumps, just managing to get aboard himself. Once on, he helps Seo Yeon up, and his 3 bros each send him 1 zen as a reward. When they reach the control cabin door, they find it smeared with blood. Inside, Minchul lies unconscious, covered in it. Cheonsu checks for bite marks, while one of his bros suggests hitting Minchul's head, only to be silenced by another. Noting that Minchul is merely passed out, our boy decides to deal with him if he turns into a zombie. Suddenly, Minchul stirs and wakes up, prompting our protagonist to ready a rifle just in case. Luckily, Minchul is lucid, so Cheonsu grabs his face and urgently asks if he's been bitten. Minchul explains that he fought off a zombie but slipped and hit his head. Unexpectedly, our hero hugs him tightly. One bro insists on a more thorough check, so Cheonsu inspects Minchul's body but finds nothing alarming. Relieved, he hugs Minchul again. Minchul then asks how they managed to board the train, but Seo Yeon, still curious, questions Cheonsu about how he managed to throw her into the air. Mincheol freezes at the mention, while our boy tries to stop her from misunderstanding. Mincheol warns Cheonsu not to treat people like objects, prompting Cheonsu to explain that it was about survival and adrenaline at the moment, impressing Seo Yeon. Suddenly, someone from the 7.5th Division connects through the radio. Cheonsu quickly responds, claiming to be a passenger on the train. The division officer demands his identity, so he claims he's just a civilian, explaining they fixed the train and stopped at the second checkpoint. He adds that they encountered unknown fighters battling zombies, and though they escaped with the soldiers' help, he is the only survivor. He further explains that the engineer started the train but had to get off after being bitten. Our boy fakes a signal loss, but the division officer warns that they'll deal with him upon arrival at Daejeon Station. After the call ends, Cheonsu insists they can't ride the train all the way to Daejeon. They agree to stop at an arboretum near the city instead. Upon arrival, weapons ready, they proceed through the strangely quiet arboretum. Suddenly, a rustling sound comes from nearby. Oddly, only Cheonsu hears it, so he asks his bros for input, but they provide little help, causing him to lose his composure. Seo Yeon comments that, as long as they don't get lost, they'll exit the arboretum in 20 minutes. Meanwhile, Mincheol studies the map and volunteers to take the lead. As he steps forward, something attacks, but his pipe absorbs the blow. Our boy quickly pulls him back, and together they spot a branch. Looking closer, Cheonsu shouts at his bros, frustrated by how overwhelming things have become. A massive tree monster, known as Cruel Tree, suddenly appears right in front of them. It lashes out with a branch, prompting Seo Yeon to counterattack. Meanwhile, Cheonsu observes that while the monster's attacks are swift, its overall movements are quite slow. Deciding to find another route, our protagonist follows Mincheol. They hurry ahead, take a different path, and quickly encounter another cruel tree, forcing them to veer left. There, even more cruel trees begin to pursue them, but our boy remains confident they can escape. Suddenly, one of the trees strikes him, sending Cheonsu sprawling to the ground. Now the tree stands between Mincheol and the rest of the group. Our hero shouts for Mincheol to escape on his own, assuring him they'll meet at the entrance. Though Mincheol hesitates, he ultimately listens and sprints toward the exit. Meanwhile, Seo Yeon attacks the tree with her rifle, but Cheonsu is puzzled by his aggro skills' inactivity. One of his bros points out that the monsters aren't targeting him. They have no eyes or ears. Testing this, our boy kicks the tree, immediately triggering his aggro skill. He quickly stops Seo Yeon from further attacks, explaining that the monsters can only sense them through direct contact. Together, they decide to double back and circle around the area. Elsewhere, Mincheol successfully reaches the entrance. He notices that the cruel tree behind him halts at the threshold, suspecting it stopped because there's no soil outside. Worried about our protagonist and Seo Yeon, Mincheol heads to a nearby convenience store. There, he grabs bottles of alcohol, a pack of towels, and a lighter. Back in the arboretum, he sets a fire with the supplies and hurls it at a cruel tree. The tree thrashes wildly, and Mincheol ignites another, causing both to run amok and eventually explode. Realizing he's ignited all the nearby cruel trees, Mincheol panics and flees, only to trip and fall. Fortunately, someone douses the flames with water. An old man holding a water pipe scolds Mincheol, telling him to get out of there. After an explosion, the old man grabs Mincheol's arm and leads him to an unfamiliar location. A short distance away, the man opens a utility cover and pushes Mincheol into an underground shelter. Completely exhausted, Mincheol listens as the old man explains that he built this place before the world collapsed. The old man slyly asks if Mincheol is wearing a school uniform. Mincheol confirms, then tries to get up to save Cheonsu but collapses onto the bed. The old man urges him to give up, insisting that anyone caught by those monsters is doomed once they start moving. When Mincheol insists on helping his friends, the old man yells for him to wait until sunrise, explaining that the monsters become dormant in daylight. He tells Mincheol to trust his friends, then offers him food to regain his strength for tomorrow's search. As Mincheol begins to eat, the old man encourages him to take his time. The old man casually asks Mincheol which way they entered. Mincheol replies that they came in through the back gate. To his surprise, the old man correctly guesses they arrived by train, remarking that's the only way people have been coming to this place lately. He then asks how many are in their group, and Mincheol tells him there are 3, including himself. As he puts away the food container, the elderly man casually inquires about the contents of Mincheol's bag. Nervously, Mincheol explains that he only has food and a few personal items. The old man reassures him, saying he's not interested in taking anything, and tells Mincheol to let him know if he needs anything, even offering him the bed while he takes the mattress. The lights go out, and both settle in for the night. Mincheol, struggling to sleep, reflects on how generous the old man has been, even sharing food and a bed with him. Still, he can't help but worry about his friends, imagining Cheon-soo and Seo Yeon running for their lives on empty stomachs. He gets up and considers taking a food container for them, but guilt keeps him from going through with it. He returns to bed, unaware that the old man is still awake. Meanwhile, Cheon-soo and Seo Yeon are still trying to shake off the cruel trees. Our boy realizes these monsters awaken others nearby, creating a chain reaction. Seo Yeon arrives, mentioning she lost her weapon during a fall, and demands to know if Cheon-soo has any idea where to go. One of his bros suggests finding an axe, but Cheon-soo doubts there's one nearby. Suddenly, he spots a cruel tree moving in the opposite direction. Looking closer, he sees the familiar white teddy bear hanging from a branch. Seizing the opportunity, our boy grabs Seo Yeon and sprints after the teddy. On the run, he counts his zen, 37 in total, and decides he'll open whatever he finds. Unfortunately, he comes across a supply chest, but it's priced at 72 zen. Frustrated, our protagonist drops to his knees, cursing his luck. Seo Yeon, watching from behind, assumes he's lost his mind from all the stress. She slaps him to snap him out of it, telling him to get a grip, then drags him away from the nearby monsters. Cheon-soo feels hopeless and briefly considers using his aggro skill, but quickly dismisses the idea as too dangerous. He decides he'll need fire to deal with the cruel trees. Just then, someone splashes water on the monsters, causing them to stop. A young man with a ponytail waves at them, and our hero is stunned to see another person in a place like this. The ponytailed guy leads them to a shelter. Back in the old man's hideout, Mincheol feels weak and exhausted. The old man notices his struggle and encourages him to sleep, telling him to leave his worries behind. Despite his efforts, Mincheol can't stop fighting the effects, prompting the old man to rise, surprised at Mincheol's resistance. He assures him everything will be over by morning. When Mincheol asks what he did to him, the old man claims he only saved him, then gestures to the food containers, revealing they're laced with poison made from the leaves of the monster trees, absorbed through the skin. Mincheol, now unable to move, is gently laid back in bed and covered with a blanket, while the old man gives a sly smile. Mincheol desperately wishes he could warn the others, but he passes out. Meanwhile, the ponytailed guy opens the entrance to an underground hideout. Seo Yeon climbs down first, and our boy insists the ponytailed stranger go next. After some protest, the young man complies, and Cheon-soo follows last, closing the door behind him. Once inside, the ponytailed guy introduces himself as Gi-seong-yu. Seo Yeon introduces herself, and our boy does the same. Gi-seong greets Cheon-soo with a sly smile. Now the three of them are sitting together inside Gi-seong's place. Cheon-soo and Seo Yeon quickly learn that Gi-seong lives there alone. When Seo Yeon asks for some water, Gi-seong opens his cabinet and invites them to help themselves, but she chooses to use her own bottle instead. She and our hero both feel it's better not to burden the person who saved them. Gi-seong simply smiles and tells them to let him know if they need anything. Still, Seo Yeon senses something's off, and Cheon-soo admits he's being cautious as well. Later, Gi-seong brings over a mattress for himself and offers the bed to the other two for the night. Seo Yeon instantly takes the bed after getting a nod from Cheon-soo. Our hero then leans against the wall, slowly closing his eyes. Before long, his bros start nagging him to wake up, and he snaps to attention when he sees Gi-seong draping a blanket over him. The bros can't help but tease Cheon-soo about it. Gi-seong offers a pillow and some sheets to help him rest comfortably. Our boy lies down on the mat, realizing he can't even remember the last time he slept like this. He drifts off almost immediately, but one of the bros warns him not to fall asleep so easily. Glancing over, he notices Seo Yeon sleeping soundly, and thinks it must be exhausting for her to keep up with his high stats. He pinches himself, trying to stay awake. Once he believes Gi-seong is asleep, our protagonist quietly gets up to inspect the place. He finds the shelter well equipped, which raises his suspicions. Not only does Gi-seong seem familiar with the cruel trees, but he also left his shelter at night to help them, something that doesn't quite add up for our hero. Looking over the food containers, Cheon-soo notices the logos on the lid and don't match, suggesting Gi-seong resealed the can after changing its contents. Taking action, he grabs Gi-seong's arms to prevent any movement. Seo Yeon wakes up and quickly assists, helping our boy tie Gi-seong up with a blanket. One of the bros suggests using the ladder, so they secure him to it before returning to sleep, ignoring Gi-seong's loud protests. Everyone sleeps soundly in their spots. In the morning, Seo Yeon is startled awake by a beeping sound. She panics, only to realize it's coming from Cheon-soo's watch. He had set an alarm before bed. Meanwhile, Gi-seong demands to be untied, but Seo Yeon ignores him, listening for any noise from outside but hearing nothing. She shakes our hero to wake him, but he remains unresponsive. Pressing Gi-seong for answers, she asks what he did to Cheon-soo. He insists he couldn't have done anything while tied up. Growing impatient, Seo Yeon grabs him, demanding the truth. Gi-seong finally reveals the can Cheonsu touched last night was coated with poison. Seo-yeon jumps up, demanding the antidote. Gi-seong simply tilts his head and says there is none, earning himself a swift kick. She leans in, ready to punch, and threatens never to untie him without the antidote. He slyly responds that she doesn't need to untie him at all. Within moments, his body ignites in flames. Gi-seong tells her she should have searched him, explaining he always keeps a lighter in each glove and wears flammable clothes. Seo-yeon stares at him in shock as he calmly explains that he is just kindling, and so is everything else in the shelter. Seo-yeon tries to smother the flames with a blanket, but it's no use, so she grabs the water pipe and douses Gi-seong, extinguishing the fire. Unfortunately, this gives him the chance to break free and grab her. She quickly kicks him away but starts coughing in the thick smoke. Losing sight of Gi-seong, she's caught off guard when he suddenly attacks from behind, now wearing a mask. He grabs her by the neck and pins her against the wall. Struggling, Seo-yeon tries to reach for a food container but fails. Gi-seong remarks that they needed fertilizer, and the two of them arrive just in time. He adds that if she had let him burn earlier, he would have been used as fertilizer himself. Seo-yeon desperately tries to call for Cheonsu, but only manages to murmur his name. Gi-seong explains that the poison acts like a sleeping pill, keeping most adults unconscious for half a day or more. He tells her to sleep as well, but warns she won't last long enough for the poison to take effect. Her vision dims, but suddenly light streams in from outside. Looking up, she sees Cheonsu opening the door. Our hero descends, stunning Gi-seong, who can't believe he's awake. Gi-seong demands to know how he managed to resist the poison, but our boy simply shrugs, saying that if it had been any stronger, he probably would have died. In a swift move, he breaks Gi-seong's arm. Gi-seong tries to punch him with his other hand, but fails. Cheonsu rips away Gi-seong's mask and grabs his neck. Gi-seong begins to act like a zombie, but Seo-yeon strikes him with a food container, then punches him down and stomps on him coldly. Our boy quickly stops her and washes her hands, warning that she touched the poison. Seo-yeon complains that he slept for too long, but he replies that he woke up at the right moment. To ensure Gi-seong can't escape, our hero breaks his leg, causing Gi-seong to scream in pain. He notes the irony. Gi-seong set himself on fire without hesitation, but can't handle pain inflicted by others. When our boy breaks another bone, Gi-seong screams again and calls out for his grandfather. Coldly, Cheonsu demands to know who else is involved. Meanwhile, outside, the old man is digging a hole. In the pit, Minchul lies bound, and the old man shovels dirt over him. As Minchul struggles and demands answers, the old man calmly says he's going to become fertilizer. Cruel tree roots begin to snake toward Minchul. The old man explains that the roots only move during the day to absorb nutrients from bodies like his. Minchul shouts to be let out, but the old man describes how the trees need nutrients to thrive and will die without them. When Minchul tries to escape, the old man stabs him with his shovel. Minchul collapses, screaming in pain, as the old man tells him he'll live forever as part of nature, by becoming fertilizer. Minchul manages to get up before the roots can reach him and charges straight at the old man. The elderly man swings his shovel, but Minchul quickly turns so the blow lands on his hand ropes, freeing himself. He then grabs hold of the shovel and pulls, dragging the old man into the dugout pit. Stepping closer, Minchul seizes the old man's head, demanding to know where his friends are. The old man only cryptically replies that if they've met his grandson, they're already in trouble. Suddenly, the old man bashes Minchul's head with a rock and lunges for the shovel. But before he can grab it, Minchul kicks him away and secures the weapon himself. He then strikes the old man with the shovel, crushing his leg. The old man warns that if Minchul kills him, he'll never find his friends. Pointing the shovel at him, Minchul coldly asks again where they are. The old man insists it won't help, even if he tells, but eventually reveals the broadleaf tree exhibit, northwest of the main gate. Crawling toward Minchul, the old man says a kid like him could never take a life, but Minchul, eyes cold, lifts the shovel and declares he's at the age where he can do whatever he wants. He recalls there are only tree-lined paths in that direction, then drives the shovel into the old man. Meanwhile, Cheonsu sits in front of the 72 Zen supply chest, sighing about its price, and attempting to persuade his bros to give him more Zen by claiming there must be something amazing inside. No one is convinced. He tries to lift the chest, but it won't budge. One bro suggests playing roulette, hinting that our boy will come across a game machine later where he can bet his Zen. With nothing else to do, Cheonsu kneels in frustration. Suddenly, only one comments, offering to loan him some Zen, with the promise of taking it back from future earnings. Cheonsu perks up at the offer. Only one agrees to loan him 35 Zen just this once, though warning he may regret it later. Still, our boy accepts the loan. Later, our protagonist returns to Seo-yeon, proudly holding his new weapon, and tells her he was out searching for it. Meanwhile, Minchul escapes the pit, leaving the old man behind to be absorbed by the cruel tree's roots. After some time, Cheonsu and Seo-yeon find Minchul lying on the ground, bleeding heavily. They try to wake him, but he's unresponsive. Our boy lifts him up while Seo-yeon suggests they get him to a medical facility, likely near the main gate. Fortunately, they spot a storage shed. Cheonsu breaks the lock with his new weapon, retrieves a wheelbarrow, and tells Seo-yeon to help load Minchul in. She protests, but with no other choice, she complies. They eventually reach a medical center. Finding no one inside, they place Minchul on an examination table. When our hero can't find anything useful to treat the wounds, he decides to check other rooms. In the corridor, an unsettling noise makes him uneasy. He can't risk Minchul's safety. He rushes back to Seo Yeon and urges her to leave immediately, instructing her to grab Minchul's legs. As they prepare to move, a purple-haired woman peeks at them from the corridor, drawn by the scent of blood. Cheonsu and Seo Yeon shield Minchul and warn the purple-haired girl to stay back. They're leaving. However, she steps closer and insists the patient will die if they go, explaining that Minchul appears to be in shock from blood loss. Seo Yeon instantly gets a bad feeling about her, but the girl approaches and admits people often say she's off. She then produces a student card, revealing her name as Ha-ryong Kim, a fourth-year nursing student. Ha-ryong asks if she can treat Minchul, but our boy stands frozen, turning to his bros for advice. He asks if support classes exist in this game, but they tell him the setting is randomized. They have no idea if she's a villain or a support. Ha-ryong's demeanor turns strange as she presses them, questioning whether they'll let Minchul die. She warns that without immediate treatment, he won't survive, and then makes a creepy face while speculating if they'll just shove pills down his throat and wrap his wounds with bandages. Both the bros and our hero are unsettled by her behavior. Suddenly, Ha-ryong's tone shifts, and she calmly says she's finally found a living patient, pleading with them to let her help. Later, Minchul hears Cheonsu's voice. In his delirium, he sees the old man stabbing him with a shovel, forcing him to become fertilizer. Minchul screams, then snaps awake to find his friends at his side. Our hero tells him he lost a lot of blood. They weren't sure he'd make it, while Seo Yeon adds that he was out for almost half a day. Tears fill Minchul's eyes, but he quickly asks about the old man. Cheonsu realizes that Minchul must have been the one who dealt with the old man in that pit. Suddenly, Minchul asks where they are and who the purple-haired girl is. Ha-ryong steps forward, introducing herself and explaining that she saved him. Minchul nervously thanks her, and she beams with happiness. Our boy wonders if they should bring her along, but notes to himself that characters like her can become trouble when put under pressure. As they head out, Cheonsu tells Minchul to get on his back, but Minchul hesitates. Cheonsu points to the wheelbarrow, asking if he'd prefer another ride in that, which convinces Minchul to accept a piggyback. Our protagonist thanks Ha-ryong, and Seo Yeon gives her a few supplies. They leave the medical center chatting, while Ha-ryong watches them go. Later, Seo Yeon notes that there are no zombies in this city, but Cheonsu cautions her to stay vigilant. Minchul says he can walk on his own now, so our hero sets him down. A bit ahead, Seo Yeon finds gas containers and mentions they could cook on a stove. They go inside a restaurant and find nothing out of the ordinary. Minchul gets curious about the fridge, but Cheonsu stops him, warning it's not running and might be unsafe. Seo Yeon points out the place has basic ingredients and 2 packs of instant noodles. Deciding they need more, our boy heads to a nearby convenience store to gather food for 3, picking up instant rice, soup, meatballs, and other items. As he turns to leave, he spots Ha-ryong watching him from the doorway, startling him. He asks if she's been following him, and she nods, stepping inside. Nervously, she explains that she needs to monitor the patient and is worried for Minchul, so she asks to join them. Our hero suggests she should ask Minchul instead, then wonders aloud if she sees him as the group's leader. Observing her closely, he notes that this is Ha-ryong's true self, confident when she feels useful, but unsure when she thinks she's lost her place. He admits to himself that she is skilled, then tells her she can come with them, but only under one condition. Cheonsu returns to the restaurant carrying enough food for everyone. Taking charge, he tells Seo Yeon to get a pot and frying pan ready. With confidence, he mentions he's got experience living alone, so they can trust him with the cooking. Promising to finish in 30 minutes, our hero begins to prepare the meal. He cooks with surprising skill, leaving everyone stunned as he expertly combines the pre-made ingredients into what he calls Cheonsu Go's convenience store feast. When the food is ready, everyone digs in and quickly finds the dish delicious. Our protagonist finishes his meal in record time, so Minchul hands him some water to keep him from choking. Afterward, Cheonsu stands up and tells Seo Yeon that if he ever does something outrageous, it's because he has a reason. He encourages them to enjoy the food, then heads out. Back at the convenience store, he finds Ha-ryong waiting for him, looking genuinely happy to see him. Our boy recalls that the condition he set for her was simply to wait for 30 minutes. Her patience confirms he can manage her. Spotting her student ID on the ground, he notices she's obscured something on her ID number. Ha-ryong explains she's actually a second-year student, not a fourth year. She came with her seniors, but when they encountered soldiers, only her seniors were taken away. That's why she covered her ID number, though it didn't help much. Still, Cheonsu insists she keep her student ID and officially welcomes her to the group. Ha-ryong beams, promising to do her best, even as a second year. As they start walking, she shyly asks if she can call him Sir Cheonsu. He's not used to such formalities and feels a bit awkward about it. Later, when they all regroup, Minchul and Seo Yeon are surprised to see Ha-ryong with him. Our hero explains that she's helped them before and was abandoned by her previous group. He urges them to trust his judgment regarding Ha-ryong. Minchul accepts her right away, and Seo Yeon follows suit. Next, our protagonist explains that the area is filled with cruel trees, which Minchul realizes explains the lack of zombies in the city. With his new weapon, our boy strikes one of the nearby trees, and a strange liquid oozes out, proving it's not a normal tree. On top of that, he notices red marks appear with each hit, and the number changes depending on how many times he strikes. Suddenly, Seo Yeon calls him inside to listen to a radio broadcast from the 7.5th Division. The message advises all survivors to head for the refugee camp their troops have set up, with rendezvous points at train stations and bus terminals. Seo Yeon adds that she found the battery-powered radio while he was at the convenience store, which is why it's picking up broadcasts. Our protagonist, however, wonders how the division has managed to deploy at nearly every major facility, especially since they aren't the only military force in the country. Still, he decides they should head to a terminal. Later outside, Seo Yeon asks if he has a plan. Our hero explains they'll stop near the terminal and try to find a working car. Haryong is shocked at the idea of stealing, but Minchul reassures her, saying they'll only take an abandoned vehicle. Before heading out though, they decide to visit Haryong's place. She leads them through the streets, and as they approach, they hear someone yelling nearby. Cheonsu quickly pulls Haryong back and peeks out to see a group of 3 people nearby, looking lost. To stay cautious, Cheonsu decides they should wait until the group moves on. Once the coast is clear, he signals for everyone to head out. They soon reach a manhole cover. Haryong's place is underground. She produces a tool she picked up from a construction site and uses it to lift the heavy cover. As night falls, the cruel trees begin to stir, so our hero instructs everyone to get down into the underground space immediately. Haryong climbs down last, and at his direction she closes the manhole cover. She then shines her flashlight on a cruel tree root tied beneath the cover. The roots start moving, then grab the cover from the outside and pull it shut tightly. Haryong explains that when you shine UV light on the roots, they automatically seal up any hole the light shines through, thinking it's sunlight, since the trees only grow underground. The group is amazed, and our protagonist admits she's an absolute genius. Inside, everyone is pleasantly surprised by how well Haryong has decorated her underground home. Cheonsu comes across detailed research notes about cruel trees. There are also extra beds, and Haryong shyly admits it's her first time hosting guests. Minchul asks if they can stay the night, but our boy simply pushes him onto a bed, making the decision for him. The others soon pick their own spots to sleep. Before dozing off, Cheonsu asks his bros to wake him if anything happens, though he's doubtful anything will go wrong. Sometime later, a woman's voice shouts for him to wake up, and he manages to rouse himself. As he scans the room, he notices a cruel tree root dangling above, reacting strangely. His bros breathe a sigh of relief, and one mentions that maxed out card is nearly broke. Cheonsu realizes it wasn't his bros who woke him, but maxed out card, who used a bunch of Zen to activate the speaker function and talk to him. Immediately, he wakes Haryong, who startles him by waking up with a frightening expression. He urges her to deal with the root, but she explains it's only reacting to rainwater. Haryong reassures him that the root would need a lot of water to regrow, so the small amount seeping in poses no threat. However, the rain soon intensifies, and water begins pouring into the waterway in greater amounts. Maxed Out card uses the voice feature to wake our hero again. Cheonsu sees the water level rising quickly and immediately wakes the others, telling them to grab their belongings. With the water now up to their knees, he concludes they're in a massive underground water tank. He asks his bros if they know how cruel trees behave during rain, but their answers are mixed. Meanwhile, Haryong gives him a raincoat. As the situation worsens, our boy instructs everyone to get onto the ladder and prepare to escape. One bro comments that the rain might be unnatural, suggesting a monster could be affecting the local environment. Suddenly, Cheonsu grabs a rock and hurls it into the water. To their dismay, a crocodile-like monster surfaces. One bro wonders if it's an El Croco, a monster known to appear in flooded areas. Haryong quickly informs everyone that the manhole cover is blocked and won't open. Cheonsu realizes a cruel tree must be standing on it, weighted down by the rain. Thinking fast, he asks Haryong if the root will grow immediately with all this water, and she confirms it. Raising his new axe, our protagonist tells everyone to move away from the ladder and prepare for action. With his axe, Cheonsu chops through the roots, sending them splashing into the water below. For a couple of minutes, nothing happens, so Cheonsu turns to Haryong and asks again if the roots will really grow. She assures him there's a good chance. Suddenly, the roots begin to expand and writhe, quickly initiating a fierce battle with the crocodile lurking beneath the water. The crocodile bites into the roots, but as the roots absorb more water, they retaliate and ultimately engulf the beast completely. As the rain stops, the cruel tree has grown massive. Deciding it's too dangerous to leave it unchecked, Cheonsu readies his axe and leaps down to confront it. Meanwhile, 6 bros, including Maxed Out Card and New Master, announce a joint reward mission: eliminate the cruel tree and earn 20 Zen. Energized, our hero swings his axe at the monstrous tree, activating his aggro skill. After striking it a second time, the tree lashes out, but he ducks and continues his assault. While battling, he realizes his axe has a hidden ability. With each consecutive strike, he feels the power building. On the 10th blow, he lands a devastating hit, leaving his friends stunned. One bro calls out the weapon's name, the 10-axe. Our boy quickly understands that regardless of where he strikes, the 10th hit always unleashes an explosive cutting force. The cruel tree, desperate, absorbs the last of the water, but Cheonsu presses on. At the 10th strike, his axe delivers another explosive blow, finally cutting the tree into pieces. Exhausted, he keeps hacking until the remains are reduced to small fragments, then collapses to the ground. He completes the mission and receives his 20 Zen reward with a satisfied smile. Catching his breath, Cheonsu calls for everyone to come down. The group gathers around the defeated cruel tree, with Haryong excitedly collecting samples for her experiments. Our hero announces that it's safe to move on now that the rain has stopped and the crocodile is gone. They soon enter a clothing store. Minchul picks out a new bag while Cheonsu grabs a bat. Suddenly, they hear shouting outside. The group quickly hides and observes two men chatting as they pass by. After a few minutes, the strangers move on. Our hero notes that these men aren't the same ones they saw earlier, but by their appearance, they likely belong to the same group. Afterward, Cheonsu notices Minchul turning pale. Cheonsu can't figure out why Minchul is acting so strangely. Haryong pokes Minchul's cheek, while Seo Yeon gently asks what has him so spooked. Minchul remains silent, but our boy peeks outside and confirms the coast is clear. As they step out, a man in uniform suddenly screams and runs toward them for help, only to collapse when one of his bones snaps. Moments later, a green-haired guy appears, cursing at the fallen man. Spotting Cheonsu's group, he calls for his underlings. Sensing trouble, Cheonsu quietly tells everyone to get ready to run, but then the green-haired guy recognizes Minchul. Minchul starts to sweat, and Cheonsu urgently asks if he knows these people. With no response, Cheonsu firmly tells the green-haired guy they're leaving and there's no need to come any closer. The green-haired stranger claims Minchul as a friend, but Cheonsu retorts that Minchul doesn't want to see him. Minchul stays quiet, leaving our boy confused. Raising his axe, Cheonsu warns the group they'll regret pushing any further, but the green-haired guy only mocks him. He lifts his bat and, on the count of 3, lunges, but Cheonsu counters with his axe, disarming him and landing a hit. The green-haired guy's underling rushes in, only to be knocked down as well. Soon, the entire group is lying on the ground. Even as the green-haired guy curses him, our hero lands another blow, taunting that he's worse than a robot vacuum cleaner. Suddenly, the green-haired guy struggles to his feet and shouts at Cheonsu to shut up, claiming he has no idea who he's dealing with. Calmly, Cheonsu asks if the guy has any idea who he's up against, silently adding that he's the main character here. The green-haired guy trembles but tries to swing again, only to be immediately struck down. When his underlings rush in, Cheonsu dispatches them just as easily. Now covered in blood, Cheonsu approaches the green-haired guy, who yells at him to stay back. Haryong steps forward, asking if she should help the injured, but quickly adds that maybe bad people shouldn't always be treated. Our boy shrugs, saying it would only be messy to patch up people who'll just end up getting killed again. With no other option, the green-haired guy pleads with Minchul for help. Cheonsu asks how Minchul knows these people. Minchul finally admits that he used to hang out with them for a short time, but was helped by some supportive people who encouraged him to cut ties. He adds that one of his supporters had a cousin on the police force, which convinced these guys to leave him alone. The green-haired guy tries to talk things out, but our hero steps on his face and demands to know if Minchul's story is true. The guy nods. Just as Cheonsu raises his axe for another blow, Seo Yeon tells him to wait. He pauses, and she coldly points out they should get some information from the green-haired guy first. The green-haired guy is now tied to a tree, frantically yelling for help. Cheonsu calmly tells him to quiet down, warning that he'll wake the roots if he keeps struggling. Leaning closer, our hero explains he's talking about the tree monsters, and the greenhead doesn't realize the roots still move underground, even during the day. If he keeps thrashing, they'll surface and use him as fertilizer. Our boy orders him to talk, though deep down he knows the green-haired guy is probably just lying. The greenhead continues to shout for help, but Cheonsu reminds him that the last person he eliminated said the same thing. Fearfully, the greenhead finally admits his group is called Black Tattoo and that they have around 20 members. When asked if they kill other survivors, he explains their truck flipped over, so they needed spare parts to repair it and continue to the safe zone. Cheonsu thanks him and leads his group away, leaving the green-haired guy behind, then doubles back and eliminates him. Later, a scar-faced man discovers the greenhead's body tied to the tree. His underling observes that the man was killed by another group of survivors. The scar-faced man vows to find whoever's responsible. Another underling rushes over, panicking, saying he's found more bodies. Soon, the Black Tattoo group finds the corpses of the green-haired guy's underlings, along with the body of the man in uniform. One underling wonders if that man's group did this, but their nervous leader dismisses that theory, noting the body would have been left behind if it were the case. Realizing the bodies are still warm, he orders his men to search the area, convinced the culprits are nearby. Meanwhile, Mincheol tells the others that Sanjin Ju, the scar-faced man, is likely their leader. Most of his gang, according to Mincheol, are pretty ruthless. Our boy reassures him that even without Minchul's involvement, guys like that would have been trouble anyway. Minchul explains that the boss likes to split his gang into teams, one for patrol, another for guarding, and a task force. The green-haired guy's group belong to the patrol team, who typically handle scouting missions, while the other teams keep watch and loot nearby areas. Eventually, the group comes across an abandoned, blood-covered truck. Minchul suspects it's the same one the greenhead mentioned. Our hero wonders aloud if the mess is due to infection. They discover the truck is missing key parts, prompting Chiansu to call the previous owners fools for ruining a perfectly good vehicle. They determine that zombies must have attacked the truck, after which the Black Tattoo Gang stripped it for parts. As they continue, Chiansu suddenly spots someone peeking at them. He approaches, axe in hand, causing the stranger to recoil in fear. Demanding to know who he is, our hero listens as the man explains he was in the truck during the ambush, managed to survive, and has been hiding ever since. Chiansu asks Minchul if he recognizes the man, but Minchul shakes his head. Chiansu notes the man is wearing the same uniform as the other survivor they saw earlier. The uniformed man recounts that their group was attacked by zombies while driving through the area. The tattooed gang appeared, pretending to help, but then turned on them. He asks if they've seen anyone else in a similar uniform, but our hero keeps quiet about the dead man and instead asks where the tattooed gang went. The uniformed man tells them the gang moved south. Deciding to avoid an encounter, Chiansu suggests heading north. The uniformed survivor warns that they won't make it north without a vehicle. He explains the area is infested with tangle-like monsters that attack anyone on foot but ignore cars. Chiansu checks with his bros, who confirm these monsters function as detectors, almost like carnivorous plants that react to movement. They also mention the monsters are spread throughout the area, so it's the same situation everywhere. With no better option, our hero decides they'll have to go south, though Minchul warns the tattooed gang is dangerous. Chiansu insists they can handle them together. He then asks for the uniformed man's name. The survivor grins and introduces himself as Yongjun-oh. Chiansu thanks him for the information, but Yongjun, worried, asks what will become of him. Chiansu points out that his hand is infected, so they can't take him along. To everyone's surprise, Yongjun offers to let them cut off his arm if that's what it takes. Chiansu and Haryong begin preparing to amputate Yongjun's arm. Haryong lists all the risks, like increased chance of infection and the lack of proper anesthetics, but our boy cuts her off before she can unsettle Yongjun further. He tightly secures Yongjun's arm to the table, while Yongjun, gritting his teeth, declares his determination to survive at any cost. Our hero hands his axe to Haryong, who disinfects it thoroughly. Meanwhile, he calls for support from his bros, who offer a mission. If Chiansu severs Yongjun's arm with exactly the 5th strike, Yongjun will be able to move painlessly for an hour as a reward. Crying Lunatic in particular sets this challenge. Once the axe is ready, Haryong returns it to Chiansu. He checks that she's ready, but when she covers Yongjun's eyes, Chiansu gently corrects her. She needs to hold his arm steady instead. Taking a deep breath, our protagonist raises his axe, intent on making the 5th strike the one that counts. The air fills with Yongjun's screams as Chiansu carries out the grisly task. Outside, Min Cheol and Seo Yeon pale at the horrifying sounds, grateful that Chiansu volunteered for the job and spared them from witnessing it. When the screams finally stop, Haryong emerges and invites them in. Inside, they see the operation was a success. Yongjun's arm has been cleanly severed, leaving only the thumb on the hand. They agree to wait 5 minutes before deciding whether to leave him, but Yongjun suddenly bolts upright, as if nothing happened, and starts swinging his arm around. Still, our hero isn't sure what will happen once the hour is up. Just then, a banging noise from outside draws their attention. Chiansu spots 2 men scavenging parts from a truck. One grumbles about their boss's obsession with the vehicle, while the other, masked, insists the refrigerator inside is valuable in times like these. Both express frustration with their leader. Our protagonist tells the group these men are Black Tattoo members. To avoid detection, Seo Yeon points out that moving as a group would get them spotted, so Yongjun volunteers to tail the 2. He slips outside to observe, but suddenly the Black Tattoo's captain, Sang-jin, appears. He announces he's searching for an enemy who took out 3 of their men, frightening the 2 members. They protest, not wanting to face their boss's wrath, but Sang-jin reassures them. He's confident he'll handle things before the boss finds out. Sang-jin and his group head toward Chiansu's location, while the other 2 members return to their boss. Yongjun debates whether to return to the group or continue tailing the members. Ultimately, he decides to follow them a bit further before heading back. To his surprise, he finds the Black Tattoo members being beaten by Chiansu's group. Meanwhile, our hero realizes that their captain, Sang-jin, isn't nearly as strong as he'd expected. Sang-jin asks Chiansu if he's the one who killed his men. Our boy casually nods, unfazed. When Sang-jin spots Minchul taking down more of his crew, he clicks his tongue in irritation, but Chiansu reminds him to focus on the real threat, himself. Suddenly, Sang-jin glances at Yongjun and, in a desperate move, grabs him from behind, striking the back of his neck and holding him hostage. He threatens Chiansu, warning that if he comes any closer, he'll kill Yongjun. Disappointed to see a supposed gang captain resort to this, our hero steps forward anyway, undeterred. Sang-jin backs away, still using Young-jun as a shield, but as he draws his knife and moves it toward Young-jun's chest, Young-jun tells Cheonsu not to worry about him. Without hesitation, Sang-jin stabs Young-jun and shoves him aside to make his own escape. Our protagonist rushes after him and lands a solid blow to Sang-jin's back with his axe. As Sang-jin collapses, Cheonsu tells him that the most popular streams are the ones where people apologize. He then forces Sang-jin to apologize for all his misdeeds. When Sang-jin finally starts apologizing, our hero demands he make it up to Minchul and Young-jun directly. Not satisfied, Cheonsu insists on a proper apology by slamming his head to the ground. He even helps by repeatedly pressing Sang-jin's head down for emphasis. Afterward, Haryong reports that Sang-jin's infection is spreading rapidly due to his weak immunity. Sang-jin tries to apologize again, but our protagonist tells him it's not necessary and instead asks if he's found the black tattoo hideout. Sang-jin nods and, struggling to his feet, agrees to lead them there. Cheonsu then turns to Mincheol, telling him it's time to face his past once and for all. When they reach the black tattoo hideout, Young-jun boldly steps forward, shouting for the gang members to come out and face him. Their boss, a red-haired man, just as Mincheol described, emerges, demanding to know who Young-jun is. Recognizing him as Young-gu, Young-jun quietly vows to kill the boss. The gang members burst out laughing, mocking him for thinking he could take on their leader. Unfazed, Young-hyung taunts Young-jun, asking if he's eager for death, while brandishing a metal pipe. But Young-jun shouts defiantly, and Cheonsu's group charges in to take down the gang. Our protagonist throws his axe, hitting a member square in the chest and eliminating him instantly. The boss begins to sweat, his confusion mounting even more when he sees Mincheol taking down his men with determination. Cheonsu approaches Young-hyung and asks if he's the one who's been causing trouble for Mincheol. The boss spits out a curse and demands to know if Mincheol hired him for revenge, to which our boy simply nods. Raising his axe, Cheonsu faces off against Young-hyung, who swings his pipe at him. Blow after blow, our hero blocks every strike with his axe until Young-hyung's pipe finally clatters to the ground. Realizing he's outmatched, Young-hyung begins begging Cheonsu not to come any closer, calling out desperately for his underlings, only to see every last one of them lying defeated. Meanwhile, Young-jun is shockingly devouring one of the fallen gang members, leaving our protagonist stunned. This distraction gives Young-hyung just enough time to scramble away. As soon as the boss flees, our hero turns to Young-jun and, despite his gratitude for Young-jun's help, says he'll have to be eliminated. Haryong insists Young-jun is still hanging in there, so Cheonsu sighs and decides to focus on the boss, who's abandoned his truck in his haste to escape. He instructs Young-jun to handle one last job. Elsewhere, Young-hyung hides inside a building, cursing Mincheol under his breath. Suddenly, he hears Seo-yeon and Haryong talking nearby about checking the very building he's hiding in. Panicking, he rushes upstairs, gripping his pipe tightly. From his vantage point, he reassures himself that as long as he has his truck with the refrigerator, he can always recruit more followers and rebuild. Suddenly, Mincheol appears through a door. Young-hyung erupts in anger, shouting at Mincheol for betraying him after everything he's done for him. But Mincheol calmly replies that if he lets Young-hyung manipulate him again, he might as well give up on his future. He points out that the boss has tormented plenty of people here, some to the point of death. When the boss yells that Mincheol used to be just like them, Mincheol counters that all he learned was how to smoke. He never hurt anyone. He challenges the boss to come down and fight, but Young-hyung hesitates, suspecting a trick. At that moment, Seo-yeon and Haryong appear upstairs, fixing Young-hyung with terrifying stares. Fearing them, he bolts downstairs, only to find Mincheol blocking his way. Mincheol quickly steps aside, slamming the door just as the boss charges, making him crash straight into it. Still, Seo-yeon and Haryong don't let up, forcing him to flee outside. Young-hyung makes a desperate dash for his truck, but our hero gives chase. Just as the boss reaches the vehicle, Cheonsu catches up and strikes him on the head. When Young-hyung finally regains consciousness, he finds himself in the front seat of his truck. At first, relief washes over him as he sees his masked gang member in the driver's seat. But that relief turns to horror when he realizes he's tied down with rope. Looking closely, he notices the masked man only has one arm. As the truck speeds forward, Young-hyung starts to scream and curse, trapped and helpless as the vehicle hurtles down the road. Young-hyung frantically demands that the truck stop, convinced something is out there. In a panic, however, he immediately tells Young-jun not to stop. Suddenly, the truck slams into something and comes to a jarring halt. Peering out the window, Young-hyung spots enormous vines rapidly approaching. The vines pierce through Young-jun first, then through Young-hyung himself. Moments later, the truck explodes, leaving only fire and smoke in its wake. From a distance, Cheonsu watches the flames and smoke rising, concluding that Young-jun must have reached the detectors. Mincheol approaches and asks if they really didn't need that truck after all. Our boy explains that managing such a large vehicle would have been impossible anyway. It would have just burned through their fuel. He then teases Mincheol, wondering if there's any real sadness about losing someone he once knew. Mincheol shakes his head, relieved that the chapter has finally closed. Afterward, Cheonsu finds Seo Yeon sitting in the driver's seat of another truck, inspecting its condition. She mentions that the truck is in good shape, but Cheonsu reminds her to drive carefully since fuel will be hard to come by. Suddenly, Harayong appears, showing off a collection of wristwatches she gathered from the bodies. She admits the watches aren't useful and that she just picked them up for fun. Our protagonist compliments her, saying the watches look great on her, and asks her to pick one for him as well. Internally, Cheonsu reflects on his party's strength, grateful that everyone brings something unique to the group. Soon they pile into the truck and set off, though our boy feels a moment of uncertainty about their next destination. He asks his friends, but they only respond with question marks. After thinking it over, Cheonsu suggests heading east, as they lack new information and need to find another safe zone. He's convinced people are likely gathered in that direction. As they move ahead, the group encounters many potholes in the road and eventually passes the truck Jong once drove. Just then, a notification appears, informing Cheonsu that he has reached a new milestone. He learns he can now use a new skill function, and soon a series of notifications arrive. The skills are divided into two categories. Those under Skill 1 can be used continuously, while those under Skill 2 are single use, with only 3 allowed per category. He makes a strange face, realizing this limitation puts him at a disadvantage. When Cheonsu says the word offer aloud, a mic icon appears. He tries offering to eat food for a 100 Zen reward, though his friends aren't interested in paying him for that. The countdown begins, and when it reaches 0, the icon disappears. Only then does our protagonist understand that someone must accept the offer for it to become a mission. He then tries to offer food invincibility for himself, which is set to 1,000,000 Zen automatically, but none of his friends have that much to give. Unfortunately, he realizes there's a penalty for failing 3 times. Before Cheonsu can do anything else, the truck stops, and Seo Yeon points at the massive holes ahead in the road. Our boy instantly recognizes these holes weren't made by monsters and wonders who could have created them. The team decides to continue on foot toward the riverside, as the truck can't pass through the holes. Once they reach the bridge, they notice the river has risen dramatically, leaving them no choice but to cross a bridge filled with abandoned cars and flickering flames. Cheonsu decides to cross before it collapses. As they reach the middle of the bridge, all the neighboring bridges begin to collapse after a series of explosions. The group starts running, and our hero tries to make another offer, but it's too expensive and, with the penalty in effect, no missions will be granted for the day. Suddenly, an explosion beneath them causes their bridge to collapse as well, splitting it in 2 and separating the entire team. Cheonsu falls into the river, and one of his bros uses the voice chat feature to guide him. He can't see anything and isn't good at swimming, but his bro continues to give directions. Unfortunately, our protagonist starts to drown, but his friend insists he is almost there. Fortunately, the water pushes him to the edge. Now his bro calls out for him to wake up, and after a couple of minutes, Cheonsu finally comes to. He learns he didn't make it across the river, and his bros explain that his friends got swept away as well. Then our boy notices Haryong's bag resting at the edge. He gets up and demands help from his brothers in the form of Zen, but the bros refuse. Cheonsu insists that they should help him, saying this is an emergency. One of them comments he has lost it, then goes silent. Thinking about it, this is the first time he has been alone since he left Myeongseodong. Then one of his bros suggests making a raft. Suddenly, 3 soldiers arrive in front of their electric boat. While hiding, our hero listens to their conversation. They mention destroying all the bridges, saying this will stop people from crossing over. Suddenly, one starts to fire, but it turns out it's just a dog that moved in front of them. One of them reminds the others that something already left after making a huge mess. As they turn their boat, a huge vine pierces one soldier. Cheonsu gets chills thinking they are already far past the area with the detectors. He sees a monster, a mixture of a zombie and a cruel tree. Then he learns from his bros that it's a wood zombie, created when a cruel tree eats too many zombies. Meanwhile, the wood zombie devours one soldier and then hits the second soldier with its vine. Although our boy is still hiding in the bushes, he watches as the second soldier is sucked up by the wood zombie. Now the remaining third soldier tries to restart the boat, and as the vine gets near him, he is saved by Cheonsu, who strikes the vine with his axe. Our protagonist had to come out of hiding because the zombie had already noticed him. Afterwards, the wood zombie starts running toward him, but it slips and drowns in the river. Afterwards, Cheonsu grabs one of the rifles left behind by the dead soldier, and with that rifle he threatens the soldier, ordering him to swim over. Later, our boy changes his fit and asks the soldier if he came from Daejeon Station to the terminal. However, the tied-up soldier says nothing, so our hero gets closer and asks about the 7.5th Division. Meanwhile, the BROs comment on the soldier's appearance, comparing it to our protagonist. Cheonsu then points out that the soldier has no tags, and finding his eyes scary, he pokes both of them. While reloading the rifle, our boy asks again why they blew up the bridges. The soldier remains silent, which makes Cheonsu fire at his shoulder and legs. The soldier screams in pain, but our boy only wants him to answer his questions. He demands to know why they are blowing up the bridges. The soldier finally speaks, mentioning they are from the 7.5th Division. However, Cheonsu already knows that, so he presses the trigger again, but it's already on safety. The The soldier trembles in fear and curses. Cheonsu now wants to know if they already have the people they needed, and that's why they have destroyed the bridges. The soldier remains silent, but surprisingly our protagonist tells him the code, "The End," which the mayor told him in the past. The soldier grows confused, and then unexpectedly, Cheonsu states he will be joining the 7.5th Division. The soldier asks if he is one of the VIPs. Cheonsu confirms and continues his act by mentioning he was promised work with the hush-ranked people, but before he could even learn the details, he was attacked. Surprisingly, the soldier actually believes him, and our Cheonsu presses that it's all their fault for blowing up the bridges. The soldier yells that it will only complicate things, but Cheonsu states he is a combatant, a mercenary. He is used to the battlefield, and this is how he calms himself when not treated correctly. He tempts the soldier, saying if he answers everything, he will take him along. He bluffs, mentioning that he can treat him, as he is a field specialist. Finally, the soldier gives in and starts explaining. The 7.5th Division is a special force for dealing with a national crisis. Their job is to efficiently gather up important personnel and bring order back to a collapsed society. Hearing this, Cheonsu makes a weird face. The soldier asks if he is alright, and our boy covers it up by saying it was just a bug. After that, he gets to know the 7.5th Division is in Daejeon, but the soldier doesn't mention their numbers. The soldier refuses to answer regarding where they are headed to. Then our hero wonders aloud if their destination isn't Jeju Island, since he heard it is safe. He then gets to know they are headed to Cheongju Airport. His jaw drops as he didn't expect that. After that, the soldier starts to breathe heavily, demanding treatment. He also demands to be untied so that they can at least make a raft to cross the river. Now Cheonsu knows there aren't any boats coming, and with that, he questions one more time if they blew the bridge because they have everyone they need. The soldier admits that they don't need many civilians, as it will be difficult for them to keep everyone in line. Hearing this, our boy makes a scary face. He steps closer to the soldier and concludes that it could make sense if the purpose was to prevent panic and chaos, but destroying the bridges is too much. To him, it feels more like a coup than a relief effort. The soldier yells that he is working to help the country, but his face says something else. Then Cheonsu aims the rifle at him, having heard everything he needed. Unexpectedly, he notices a zombie coming by. Therefore, our protagonist opens the door for the zombie and leaves the soldier behind as he steps out. He comes back to the riverside and opens the shop window. One of his bros suggests he look for an inflatable tube. It turns out it costs 2 zen. After that, our boy sees a notice for the shop, which will be updated at random. His bros don't explain much about this, and are excited for tubing. Next, he makes a tearful face because he still owes 10 zen to only one. Then a bunch of his bros donate him 1 zen each. One bro mentions maxed out card is spending a lot as his superfan. Then our hero observes the river and concludes the currents are faster now. Meanwhile, maxed out card again donates him 1 zen. Unexpectedly, the wood zombie notices Cheonsu from the river. Our boy starts to run towards the buildings and enters one. Meanwhile, the wood zombie loses track of him. After a couple of minutes, Cheonsu sees the zombie from the rooftop as it is now going back. He decides not to let it go and then pulls out a box of meat tuna from Harayong's bag. After finishing it, he throws the empty box below and, surprisingly, jumps from the rooftop. Cheonsu jumps and lands on the next building's rooftop. However, his foot trips and he falls. But this doesn't make Cheonsu give up. Then he jumps to the next building and ends up falling again. However, he gets up once more and jumps to the next one, but this time doesn't fall on the third try. Now, Cheonsu stands near the spot where the detectors are located, and he throws an empty box of tuna there. It turns out the wood zombie reacts to the noise, and as it reaches the detectors area, the detectors attack it. Now our hero hopes for them to fight each other. Then Cheonsu runs toward the exit of the building he's in. As he makes his escape, he notices the wood zombie gaining the upper hand in the fight. With that, Cheonsu runs as fast as possible to reach the river, but he hesitates before jumping in, regretting his lack of swimming skills. Meanwhile, the wood zombie gets very close to him, which makes him panic. He heads to the edge of the river, yelling at his bros to give him 11 zen. He lets them know he wants to buy the donut tube, but his bros just tease him to buy a real donut instead. Cheonsu yells in panic for them to finish their discussion after giving him the zen. Finally, he jumps into the river but quickly realizes the currents are still strong. Fortunately, 6 of his bros give him a joint mission. If he crosses 2/3 of the river, he'll get 11 zen. Cheonsu gives it his all, but unfortunately the wood zombie jumps into the river too. Cheonsu gets a chill but keeps trying his best. In the end, he manages to cross 2/3 of the river and completes the mission. He immediately purchases the tube, but as he tries to reach it, the wood zombie grabs his foot from beneath the water as it sinks. Somehow, he manages to free himself and succeeds in getting to the tube. Then, Cheonsu pauses for a few seconds to catch his breath. He explains to his bros that he is trying to gain some distance by following the current. Unfortunately, the wood zombie somehow figures out how to ride the wave and starts following him. In a panic, our boy remembers the tube technique skeleton and lays flat on the tube to increase his speed. Eventually, he reaches the area beneath the destroyed bridge, and his bros warn him to be careful as the bridge is still collapsing. The wood zombie continues to follow. Luckily, some of the remaining bridge rubble falls on the wood zombie. Our hero finally sighs in relief, but then he notices something nearby. Fortunately, it turns out to be the dog from earlier. He tells the dog to pull him to shore. The dog comes closer, and Cheonsu gives it the name Black Furball. But in the next moment, the dog moves ahead, leaving our protagonist behind. Deciding to continue on his own, he notices the dog is actually guiding him to where the current is weaker. After a couple of minutes, Cheonsu finally manages to cross the river. The dog barks softly, hoping for a reward. Cheonsu offers it a box of tuna. Later, after changing his clothes, our hero tries to get his bearings using a map posted at a bus station. Suddenly, the dog starts barking at something. When our protagonist looks in that direction, he is surprised to see a bus stopping at the station. Cheonsu is confused when he sees the bus. Then the driver yells at him to get on immediately. Next, our boy notices a bunch of wolves approaching them. With no other option, he gets on the bus and the dog hops on too. The driver accelerates right away. Turns out those wolves are gray wolves, known to be very annoying. Our protagonist opens a window at the back to deal with them, and the dog follows along. He takes out a can of tuna and throws it at one of the wolves. As a result, 2 wolves fall behind, but the rest keep chasing. Then, he discovers that one of them is actually their leader, so Cheonsu throws his last can at its leg. The wolf trips and falls, causing the rest to stop as well. Cheonsu sighs in relief, hoping that's the end of it. Afterward, the driver introduces himself as Chang Sik Park, the driver of the number 2 express bus. This stuns Cheonsu, who asks why he picked him up despite being a total stranger, and mentions he came from across the river. Chang is surprised, knowing the bridge collapsed, but Cheonsu explains that he swam across. The driver says he came from the garage, but our boy is clear he wants to know where Chang stopped first. Chang explains he arrived after meeting some soldiers at the Daejeon terminal. Those soldiers are protecting people and getting ready to leave, so they're putting passengers on buses. Chang adds that he wanted to pick up at least one last person before the soldiers left. As someone who's lived here all his life, driving this bus between Daejeon Station and the terminal daily, helping people is his mission. He can't just sit back as long as people's destinations still match his route. The bros start commenting on how selfless Chang is, saying it's something our hero would never have. According to Chang, he'll stop at all the places mentioned by people at the terminal. He praises Cheonsu for losing the monsters, and mentions it'll take about 15 minutes to reach their destination. But our boy refuses to sleep for that time. He can't fully trust the driver yet. So, he spends this time chatting with his bros. He wants to know more about the superfan. The fact that superfans exist means there's more to this system. The bros didn't expect him to notice, and one even blames Maxed Out Card. Next, our protagonist acts all affectionate toward Maxed Out Card. Then the bros tease him for playing favorites, but he calms them down, saying he was just cheering Maxed Out Card up. He points out that if there are superfans, then there must be other things like that as well. There's one thing every streamer needs, he adds, and that's a mod. All the bros react in shock, since he's not supposed to know about that yet. While Cheonsu gets confused, he then smirks, guessing they're afraid he'll become too powerful. The bros admit he's caught them and even say they're a little afraid of him. Our hero just shrugs it off, assuring them he'd never do anything to his bros. As he asks how the MOD system works, the bus suddenly takes a sharp turn, causing him to fall. Suddenly, Chang yells that the wolves are on the left side. Out of nowhere, one wolf crashes into a window. Looking outside, Cheonsu sees 3 wolves giving chase. He gets a chill, realizing that earlier they'd only stopped chasing when their leader tripped. All of a sudden, one wolf howls to call even more wolves. Our boy rushes to Chang and says they need to get out of here, insisting they can't save anyone if they die now. Then, another wolf howls, calling for reinforcements. Cheonsu notices that a wolf is coming for them, so Chang decides to turn the bus around. As the bus turns, it immediately hits that wolf hard. The driver accelerates ahead, but now 6 wolves start chasing the bus. They keep crashing against the windows, and our boy doesn't know what to do. Suddenly, something slams into the wheel, affecting the bus's movement. After that, his bros suggest our hero throw Black Furball out as bait to lure the wolves away. He hesitates, but then notices his aggro skill isn't active, which means the wolves are only after the bus itself. Our protagonist quickly comes up with a plan and yells at the driver to open the back door. Chang is confused, so Cheonsu takes it upon himself to open the back door and instructs Chang to close it as soon as one wolf gets inside. As soon as the gate opens, a wolf jumps in, and his aggro skill activates. Chang instantly closes the door, and then our boy grabs his axe and strikes at the wolf. As the bus takes a turn, the wolf loses its balance and trips. Cheonsu strikes from different directions until the wolf is completely defeated. At his signal, Chang opens the door again, but this time 2 wolves come inside. Dealing with 2 is more difficult for our hero, but he somehow manages to throw one aside while the other leaps at him. Fortunately, the bus takes another sharp turn, causing the wolf and Cheonsu to fall in different spots. After regaining his balance, the wolf rushes toward Cheonsu. Before he can attack, the wolf gets dangerously close. He tries to kick it off, and then Furball jumps in and bites the wolf's leg. With Furball's help, our boy finishes off the wolf. Chang asks if he's okay, but our hero acts tough, saying he's been training all his life. He then glances at Furball, deciding to take a walk. He steps out of the bus while the driver keeps going ahead. 6 wolves spot Cheonsu, and as he moves toward them, ready to eliminate the group. Having regrets, donates 3 Zen. But the bros are confused why he is taking on all of them at once. However, our boy has a plan. According to that plan, once he gets off the bus, Chang will honk the horn 5 seconds later. When the horn sounds, all the wolves shift their attention to the bus. This gives Cheonsu the perfect opening to defeat them with ease. Afterward, he heads back to the bus, noting just how strong Furball truly is. Then he demands his bros clarify whether this little guy is an item or something else. They explain it's just a clever mutt, though one bro adds that some animals are on par with rare items. He reaches the bus and notices the back tire is completely shot. He suggests to the driver that they walk the rest of the way, and adds that they need to hurry since the pack leader is still out there. Cheonsu also promises to stay with Chang until they run into the soldiers. At Daejeon Terminal, civilians yell at the soldiers to let them in, but the soldiers do not listen. The crowd discusses among themselves how long they will have to wait like this, clearly frustrated. Apparently, another team asked for more time, yet no one in the group thinks there will be any more people, since they have done their job and already gathered everyone they needed. Some wonder what would happen if the other useless refugees realized what was about to happen to them. But as long as the meat shields do their job until the group reaches Cheongju Airport, nothing else matters to the soldiers. Suddenly, Chang shouts for help, chased by wolves. The civilians panic, while the soldiers quickly start firing to eliminate all the monsters. Their captain soon signals them to cease fire. Chang thanks them for saving his life, mentioning that he is alone. However, the captain finds something off, confused at how an old man like Chang could manage to avoid a pack of agile monsters on his own. Another soldier suggests Chang was a bus driver and might have hid somewhere before coming out. Then, the captain spots a higher-ranked soldier. He salutes, but the higher-ranked officer scolds him for saluting in public, warning that such actions could make him a target by revealing his rank. The officer orders him to start preparations, as they will be heading to Cheongju Airport. The soldiers mention that the group at Daejeon Station asked them to cooperate, but they refuse, determined to take all the glory for themselves and gain acknowledgement from the division leader. The higher-ranked soldier pats the captain on the shoulder, expressing hope that he will live up to expectations. Meanwhile, in the parking lot, our boy notices the soldiers have stopped shooting. He thanks Chang for the tip, thinking he can now grab a car from here and follow the soldiers. Suddenly, he hides as he spots a keyman collecting keys. Cheonsu remembers this is the man Chang told him about earlier, the one holding onto his friend's bus key. Then our protagonist greets the man and says he is someone who just arrived. He suggests the key man could go over there if he is looking for the soldiers, but Cheonsu then asks whether he is collecting keys. The key man tells him to leave, saying he is already busy. Cheonsu learns that the man is waiting for a friend, so he asks if it is the one who left him the bus key. The key man wants to know how Cheonsu knows this, and Cheonsu explains that he met the driver of the number 2 express bus. The man then demands to know if the old driver is still alive, and our hero confirms it. He adds that he will not be leaving with the soldiers, since he needs to take care of some things. The key man realizes our protagonist needs a car, but Cheonsu insists he only wants to borrow one and offers to go together. The key man wants to stay and watch over the cars, since people might return for theirs later, and he believes his friend will come back for his key. Eventually, he gives Cheonsu a car key. Later, as Cheonsu finds the car, he makes a strange face because the vehicle he finds can barely be considered a car. Inside, he notices it has a GPS. Suddenly, his mood changes completely as the system notifies him that the shop has been updated. There he finds a new item, Accelerated Cover of Fury, which allows the car to drive at 300 km/h for 7 minutes. However, if the car slows down after reaching maximum speed, its lifespan is reduced to 60 minutes. Our boy is amazed but suspicious, since the item only costs 2 Zen. One of the bros mentions that items update according to the situation, while some others tease him, but he buys it anyway and attaches it underneath. He starts the car and notices that because of the pedal, it now has a set life expectancy. Next, the key man lets him know the soldiers have left the terminal. Cheonsu asks him to tell anyone who comes looking for him that he has left for Jeju Island. As Cheonsu moves ahead, he decides to keep some distance between himself and the soldiers. Meanwhile, the soldiers are loading people onto the buses. The people inside trust them, believing they will not be abandoned. However, they soon realize the buses are moving ahead of the soldiers. Then the driver assures everyone that the soldiers are slowing down for a good reason, and all the people inside start mourning. In the next moment, a soldier yells, pointing at a monster up ahead. A huge monster appears ahead, making the civilians to scream while the soldiers immediately open fire. Although their attacks have some effect, more monsters soon emerge. The civilians yell at the driver to stop the bus, but he only accelerates further. Then he abruptly changes the route, causing all the monsters to swarm toward their bus. After a few minutes, the beasts completely destroy the bus, resulting in a massive explosion. Meanwhile, Cheonsu in his car hears the blast. He also notices that the soldiers have already spotted him, yet it seems they do not care. Afterward, he hears the screams from the people on the bus. Out of nowhere, one of the bros begins trolling our hero with insults and mocks his appearance. Cheonsu doesn't pay much attention at first, but the same bro starts using foul language. The other bros step in, telling the troll to leave. This situation causes Cheonsu to lose his temper. leading him to ask his bros how he can select someone as a MOD. He learns that he requires a superfan first, as both the player and a superfan need to nominate and agree on a mod. Our protagonist sighs, realizing he can't do anything as a streamer alone. Then he calls out to Maxed Out Card, asking if they can be his superfan. Unfortunately, he discovers that to become a superfan, someone must give him 30% of what they own. There are other ways, but this is the most realistic option. The trolling continues, but suddenly Maxed Out Card donates 40 Zen, making them our boy's superfan. He starts to sob from gratitude and promises to grant his new superfan one wish. Now Maxed Out Card's comments gain a special effect and display their username prominently. Cheonsu is now eager to pick a MOD. Maxed Out Card suggests selecting one, and after accepting, our hero leaves the nomination to Maxed Out Card. They nominate Crying Lunatic, stating that Crying Lunatic is reliable when given a task. Cheonsu clicks the agree button, and since everyone agrees, Crying Lunatic becomes the streamer mod. As the troll tries to continue, Crying Lunatic immediately kicks them out, silencing the disruption. This startles our boy, who then thanks his MOD and hopes they will keep up the good work. With support from his bros, he feels recharged and decides to get back on task. The soldiers notice his car, but the captain decides to ignore it, assuming they might be piggybacking and are likely just civilians. He plans to deal with them after reaching the airport. Regarding the situation on Bus 2, the soldiers are informed that a monster jumped onto Bus 1, causing it to go off course. The captain believes there will be no problems as long as they proceed with buses 2 and 3 as planned. Suddenly, the bus next to theirs falls from a cliff because of an unknown monster, causing people to scream. From behind, our protagonist wonders what is happening and suspects another reflector, but concludes that something must have caught them off guard. Suddenly, Maxed Out Card mentions it's a grasper and suggests going faster. Cheonsu hesitates, but his bros explain that a grasper can stick to the bottom of his car and will explode once his speed drops below a certain point. Our hero doesn't know exactly how fast he needs to go, but one bro suggests driving at 300 kilometers per hour. However, with a car like this, reaching that speed seems impossible, until Cheonsu remembers he has the pedal cover. With that realization, he starts to accelerate. Meanwhile, the soldiers are still busy dealing with the graspers. Then they notice our boy approaching at an impossible speed. As his car nears the traffic, his bros nervously suggest stopping, but instead, he speeds up, confident that he can make it through. Cheonsu maneuvers his car through the traffic as the monsters are unable to catch up to him. His vehicle speeds past a soldier's car, which is destroyed at that very moment. Now ahead of the convoy, he doesn't slow down since he is still deep in the woods. He notes that the soldiers have set those buses at the front as bait, but it also doesn't seem like they intend to abandon everyone, which means the real danger must be further ahead. With that realization, Cheonsu eases off the gas a little. Meanwhile, the system notifies him that the car will only last for 60 minutes. He decides to stop for a while, not wanting to get too far in front of the military convoy. If the soldiers manage to reach this point, it will mean they have successfully passed the graspers. After some time, the military convoy appears, having managed to save 6 buses. Meanwhile, at the edge of the river, Minchul pulls himself out of the water. He wonders if his friends are still alive, but feels relieved to have made it across. Suddenly, he spots Haryong sitting on a rock. Overcome with happiness, he rushes toward her and asks if everyone else is okay. When she gives a vague answer, Minchul yells, demanding to know if something has happened, and reminding her they don't have time to waste. Haryong, however, seems hopeless and says there's no point anymore. Unexpectedly, Seo Yan appears in her tracksuit, visibly relieved to see Minchul alive. She explains that they have been searching for him this whole time. Minchul then asks about our hero, and Seo Yan tells him Cheonsu isn't dead, though he might have already left the city. According to her, Haryong saw him board a bus while fleeing from the monsters. Minchul feels lost without Cheonsu, so he tries to figure out where Cheonsu might have gone. He remembers the radio broadcast they all listened to at the restaurant, when our protagonist decided to head to the terminal. Because of that, Minchul decides they should go to Daejeon Terminal, confident that Cheonsu headed there as he planned. Seo Yan suggests they come up with a more thorough plan since they don't know how to deal with the soldiers at the terminal. Despite this, Minchul remains determined. Having come this far, he doesn't want to change plans just because our boy isn't with them. He is certain they will reunite with Cheonsu soon, and at last, Seo Yan agrees. She then suggests Minchul change out of his wet clothes at a nearby store and recommends Haryong do the same. Haryong stands up, deciding to go as well. Meanwhile, near the airport, the high-ranking officer is yelling at the soldiers to quickly move the abandoned vehicles out of the way. Behind them, Cheonsu's car is stopped, and he can't shake a bad feeling. One of his bros suggests walking to the airport, but our boy knows the soldiers are still suspicious of him. As soon as the soldiers clear the path, Cheonsu hears a massive bang. Suddenly, a gigantic hand bursts out of the road ahead, and a huge monster appears. It's apparently an evolved big head, now the big body. Cheonsu, panicked, quickly starts driving his car as more monsters emerge from below. Then he wonders if the soldiers brought all these buses just to give the monsters something to eat while the plane gets ready for takeoff. Cheonsu finds himself trapped between 2 big body monsters. Looking ahead, he sees that the soldiers have abandoned one of the buses, leaving its passengers to fend for themselves. In the chaos, a big body grabs one of the fleeing people and devours them. Witnessing such a horrifying sight, our hero starts to tremble. The memory of the food delivery guy at his parents' house who met the same fate flashes through his mind. Suddenly, maxed out card helps him regain his composure and focus. Determined to catch up with the soldiers, he pushes forward, but soon spots another abandoned bus ahead, its passengers desperately yelling for help. Although the scene weighs on him, Cheonsu drives past and manages to escape the immediate danger. Now, his car has only 10 minutes of life left, and he still can't close the distance with the soldiers. He opens his shop window, hoping for an update, but finds nothing new available. Cheonsu is uncertain about what lies ahead, but suspects the soldiers already knew about these monsters, except for the graspers. This leads him to believe that someone at the airport is relaying information to them, possibly over the radio. If long-distance communication is involved, it's probably coming from other soldiers stationed at the airport. Since the soldiers took the most direct route, our boy decides to take an alternate path. After a few minutes, he arrives at the airport with Furball. To his surprise, he finds no one inside. Suddenly, a soldier spots him and asks if he is the person who sent the rescue request. Cheonsu notes that this soldier is from the Air Force, not from the 7.5th Division. The officer urges him to hurry because the monsters are close by, and at the same time, his men report to Major Jin that they are ready for takeoff. Major Jin grabs our boy's arm, announcing to his men that he is a survivor. The Air Force soldiers guide Cheonsu to the plane, assuring him they'll explain everything later since there isn't much time. He is also given permission to bring Furball with him. Before boarding, Cheonsu warns the soldier about the 7.5th Division, explaining that they are using civilians as shields. Deep down, he knows the Air Force and the 7.5th Division have different objectives. Afterward, he rushes onto the plane. Upon entering, he notices other survivors already seated. He guesses that the 7.5th Division must have convinced the Air Force they were also trying to save people. As the plane prepares for takeoff, the passengers spot monsters through the windows. The bros in the chat reassure everyone that the monsters can't reach our hero now, likening the moment to a cutscene. The plane lifts off, but Cheonsu remains cautious, knowing he can't count on luck or trust until the game is over. Suddenly, he notices that they are flying in the opposite direction of Jeju Island. Cheonsu gets up and walks forward. A soldier tries to stop him, but he insists he has questions to ask. He reaches the galley and asks an air hostess where the plane is headed. She politely asks him to take a seat first, but when he presses her again, she finally reveals their destination is Jeju Island. Cheonsu doesn't believe her and heads straight for the cockpit, demanding to know from the pilot where the plane is actually going. Soldiers immediately seize him, insisting he return to his seat. The other passengers grow confused, but our protagonist manages to break free. He now demands the soldiers explain why the pilot turned the plane if it's supposed to be flying to Jeju Island. Suddenly, the plane starts shaking violently and people scream as something slams into it. The pilot announces to the passengers that they are under attack by unidentified monsters. Our hero looks out the window and sees a huge fly-like creature attacking the plane. It's a mayfly. When the monster collides with the plane, it loses its balance and falls away. The sight shocks Cheonsu, but maxed out card reminds him they'll donate Zen if he survives this situation. He knows his superfan has nearly exhausted their Zen, meaning the other bros are holding back for truly desperate moments. After that, Crying Lunatic reminds our boy that sometimes survival itself is the mission, then suggests a challenge. Survive the plane crash. In a panic, Cheonsu asks a nearby soldier if there are parachutes on board, only to learn this is a passenger plane and there aren't any. Cheonsu grows more anxious, but then notices sudden quiet as the monsters die trying to hit the plane. He finally feels a sense of relief. He goes back to the air hostess, once again requesting she ask the pilot about their destination. After making a call, the hostess returns to say that the pilot isn't available to answer directly, but he got a message from another plane. There are too many monsters to the south, so they'll be landing at another nearby airport. She doesn't know anything beyond that. When Cheonsu tries to talk to the pilot himself, the hostess stops him, saying she wasn't even supposed to share what she just did. She explains that revealing the destination could cause unnecessary panic and assures him they will land safely. Our boy turns to her and asks for some water. After receiving a glass, he returns to his seat. He reminds his bros about the earlier mission, and they ask if he wants them to set one. Sipping his water, Cheonsu reflects that the pilot has already given up on heading south, implying the new destination is chosen based on very limited information. The MOD requests the bros to set a mission right away, and when one bro complains, Crying Lunatic destroys their chat box. Cheonsu gets furious, wondering why someone was banned, but soon learns the MOD only timed them out and they're still present. When he recalls that bro was the one who bullied him earlier, he wonders why they haven't been kicked out. Suddenly, our hero hears a loud noise. It turns out Hellwater was just removed, and the sound was the effect for someone being banned. Cheonsu instructs the MOD to be more careful and appropriate with actions in the future. Next, the MOD asks to set a mission, and with 4 other bros, they establish a joint goal: survive the crash for a reward of 15 Zen. At first, Cheonsu complains they could do better than that, but then realizes that demanding immediate participation and too much zen might backfire. Suddenly, Furball looks up at him with an innocent face, and our protagonist glances outside as the plane passes a checkpoint. He quickly opens his info panel and discovers that the plane is heading to Pohang Airport, with the southern routes blocked by monsters. Cheonsu freezes as he processes this new destination. One bro points out that the destination was already set, but Cheonsu isn't sure if the hostess misled him or if the pilot changed course afterward. He wonders whether Pohang Airport is near a port, yet his bros just joke around. Still, he believes the system is hinting that he should travel by sea. At that moment, another mayfly slams into the plane. Our boy reflects on how he's been heading west up until now. But since the plane isn't going to Gunsan Airport, there must be a heavy monster presence in that direction. Suddenly, he stands up, deciding to look for something. Meanwhile, back at Daejeon Terminal, Minchul finds the keyman and asks if he works there. The keyman nods, so Minchul asks if he's seen Cheonsu. The keyman explains that he was told to deliver a message to anyone looking for our protagonist. Hearing this, Minchul panics and shakes the man, desperate for more information. Suddenly, Seo-yeon runs over and knocks the keyman to the floor, while Haryong, standing behind, points her knife at him. Minchul quickly yells that it's just a misunderstanding, insisting he was only asking about our boy. A moment later, all three apologize, but the keyman understands. The world is no longer what it once was. He delivers the message. Cheonsu has headed for Jeju Island. Seo-yeon asks if he mentioned how he planned to get there, but the keyman shakes his head. She starts to panic, but Minchul wants to know if our hero was following a group of soldiers. The keyman replies that Cheonsu was driving after them as the soldiers headed to Cheongju Airport, but advises against that route since they've long gone and suggests they go somewhere else to survive. Minchul mulls it over and decides they'll head for Daejeon Station. Meanwhile, on the plane, our protagonist gets his hands on a map he received from a soldier, but still can't figure out where they'll end up if there's a crash. His bros remain in a joking mood. When one bro donates a single zen, Cheonsu laments that they never donate when he actually does well. With a total of 43 zen, he starts searching for something in the overhead bins. When the hostess spots him, he assures her he'll stop once he finds what he's looking for. After checking every corner, he gives up and heads back. But luckily, he spots a teddy bear that leads him to a nearby chest. There, he finds a wingsuit instead of a parachute. He panics for a moment, wondering if it has any special features, while the bros laugh. Calming himself, our boy recalls that both the flashlight and axe had hidden abilities, so surely this suit must as well. As he puts on the suit, a kid behind him asks what he's doing. Cheonsu gets startled and falls onto the floor. The kid hadn't meant to scare him and reaches out to help, but our hero gets up dramatically on his own, insisting he doesn't need assistance. The kid, excited, compares Cheonsu to inchworms in documentaries. Cheonsu tells the kid to return to his seat, but the child asks if he's planning to ride down and insists on going with him. Our hero explains that the wingsuit is only for one person, and suggests the kid sit next to him if he's bored. After the kid settles beside him, Cheonsu asks about his family. Sadly, he learns that the kid's parents were killed by monsters and the Air Force rescued him. Now Cheonsu wants to know if the kid has overheard anything from the soldiers. After thinking for a moment, the kid recalls hearing a soldier refer to someone as commander over the phone. Our boy considers that the Air Force seems to have a solid command structure, even though they're missing troops. He remembers how Major Jin acted and concludes that their plan wasn't to work with the 7.5th Division, so there's a chance the commander mentioned wasn't from the 7.5th. When he tries to pat the kid's head in thanks for the info, the kid dodges, claiming he's not a child. Cheonsu gets a bit annoyed and points out that the kid doesn't even reach the top of the seat. The kid argues back, saying he doesn't want his hair touched since he just styled it. The bros remind our hero that the kid is an orphan, so Cheonsu stops arguing, but can't help but wonder how the boy managed to style his hair in such chaos. He sits down beside him and advises the kid to get some sleep, assuring him it will help. Furball curls up under the seat. The bros wonder if Cheonsu plans to take the dog with him, but Cheonsu decides it's better for Furball to stay behind. As he dozes off briefly, the kid shouts at him when the plane starts to shake. Cheonsu tells him to put on his seatbelt and instructs him to get down. Panic erupts as passengers realize the plane is about to crash. Suddenly, a mayfly rips a huge hole in the aircraft and falls out. Out of nowhere, Furball leaps through the hole, and our boy has no idea where the dog has gone. The bros urge him to jump out amid the chaos. Quickly, he grabs an oxygen mask from the kid while the pilot announces they're attempting a crash landing in the reservoir. Cheonsu tells the kid to wrap a wet piece of cloth around his face to avoid smoke inhalation, and instructs him to stay low as he moves. As the plane descends, Cheonsu decides it's time to jump. He tells the kid to survive no matter what. Memories of watching a sports documentary on wind gliders, when he thought he could easily do something like that, flash through his mind. But now, as he plummets, he screams in terror, realizing he's not getting the hang of it at all. He's falling at full speed, begging his bros for help. Maxed out card suggests he put his wrist behind him, so our boy follows the advice. Thankfully, his speed drops by half as he starts gliding. His superfan apologizes for not helping sooner, explaining they can't spoil things. Afterward, Cheonsu thinks to himself that he really needs more fans. Cheonsu decides to grab onto one of the mayflies that is falling down, and slowly manages to reach one and grab hold of it under the pressure of the wind. The bros start donating him some zen, and he notes that he now has a total of 39 zen. It turns out the monster he is holding onto has passed out after slamming into the plane. When he looks back at the aircraft, he sees the kid almost jumping out himself. Cheonsu yells at him not to go, but the kid jumps anyway. Now, the kid is falling faster than our hero, and Crying Lunatic suddenly sets a mission to rescue the kid with a reward of 19 zen. With that, our boy jumps down, convinced he can save the kid now that he understands how to use the wingsuit. He shouts at the kid to spread his arms, but the boy doesn't respond. So Cheonsu decides to accelerate. When he gets close, the kid is barely conscious but still doesn't react much. Cheonsu manages to position the child on his back and tries to wake him up. As soon as he gets a slight reaction, our hero tells him to grab onto a mayfly, promising he'll be there to catch him if he fails. Even though the boy protests, Cheonsu lets him go and immediately grabs onto a nearby mayfly himself. The kid tries to grab one but fails. Fortunately, Cheonsu is ready, and as he stretches out his arm, the kid falls straight into it. Now both of them are holding on to the same mayfly. The mission is completed, and with that, Cheonsu has a total of 73 zen. Meanwhile, the kid can't stop crying, and an annoyed Cheonsu shouts, demanding to know why he jumped off the plane. The boy only says he was worried about the incoming monsters, but our hero tells him they'll talk about it later. Now he focuses on landing and decides they have to jump off before they hit the ground. After a few minutes, they leap off toward a nearby tree and thankfully survive. The kid feels like throwing up while our boy is busy unzipping his wingsuit. Meanwhile, more mayfly bodies crash onto the ground around them. They look up and see their plane falling from the sky. After confirming that the kid isn't hurt, Cheonsu worries about Furball. His bros suggest he look for the dog's body, but to everyone's surprise, Furball runs out of the woods toward our protagonist. The dog barks in relief, while both he and the kid are amazed to see it alive. As Cheonsu bends down, Furball licks his face. Suddenly, our hero notices something in the dog's mouth, and figures out that Furball must have grabbed a mayfly and come down that way. As they start to move forward, he learns the kid's name is Jun Park. Then, Cheonsu instructs Jun to keep moving quickly, warning that he'll be left behind otherwise. They both realize that the mayflies don't care about people on the ground. Suddenly, a military plane flies overhead, launching flares to destroy the monsters. From this, our boy learns that the mayflies react to bright lights. The group moves ahead, while Cheonsu believes there is a good chance that military plane will land safely. Later, he reaches the entrance of Pohang Airport. Before Cheonsu can enter, he hears a huge noise of collapse. It turns out the insides of the airport are falling apart. He feels relieved and tells Jun and Furball to stay behind. Suddenly, a number of people rush out, while the soldiers guide them. Fortunately, those soldiers are from the Air Force. One of them is Major Jin, and after seeing our hero alive, he believes the plane landed safely. However, our boy insists on getting those people out as the building is collapsing. Therefore, Major Jin orders one of his soldiers to assist the people and get them out of there safely. Unfortunately, they find that the key they need has been trapped under the rubble. That key was left behind by the soldiers for them. But the Major changes the subject, asking about the other people who were with Cheonsu. He learns that the plane crashed. Cheonsu explains he grabbed onto one of those flying monsters and survived. Major Jin is stunned for a moment, then asks if there are any other survivors. Our hero mentions there is one child and a dog. Meanwhile, Jun, with Furball, is hiding outside in the bushes. Next, Cheonsu wonders if there are more soldiers coming from Cheongju Airport. He learns from the Major that there are supposed to be more, but he doesn't know what happened to them. He was careful after hearing the message our boy left for him. They put those soldiers from the 7.5th Division on another plane, but they are not here, which makes Major Jin feel uneasy. He believes it's his fault, as he should have found another way, but our protagonist reminds him that they need to put everything aside and find the key. It turns out the way to find the key is to pass through a narrow path, so the Major orders one short soldier to go inside. However, that soldier is unable to pass through. After thinking for a bit, our hero brings Jun as a candidate to search for the key under the rubble. He requests Major Jin to guide them about the exact location of the key. Then Cheonsu asks Jun if he really can do this, and Jun nods, determined to do his best. Afterwards, the Major guides Jun further. After understanding, Jun goes inside the narrow path under the rubble. Meanwhile, Furball barks and follows Jun through the path. Cheonsu grows uneasy and yells for Jun to be careful. Jun waves back and goes ahead. After a moment, he screams loudly. Cheonsu starts to panic while the Major inspects the path, concluding something might have happened. Our hero isn't able to do anything, only hoping for Jun's safety. Unfortunately, they hear a sound from a zombie behind the rubble. Soon, our boy sees Jun running away from the zombie. He yells for him to get out, but fortunately the dog bites the zombie as it tries to save Jun. After a couple of moments, Jun finally pops out, handing the key box to Cheonsu. Before he can get out, Jun is dragged by the zombie behind him. With a pale face, our protagonist shouts for him to escape. Finally, Jun manages to get out, breathing heavily. Then our boy checks his body for bites and scratches, and fortunately, Jun is unharmed. Next, he pays attention to Furball, who comes running toward our protagonist. But instead of giving a hug, Cheonsu looks at Furball's body and finds nothing wrong. His bros mock him for being emotionless, but Cheonsu reveals he doesn't want to deal with a zombie dog. Major Jin praises little Jun, and the kid is glad to be of help. After that, Cheonsu advises everyone to move before the building collapses completely. They make their way to the parking lot, where Major Jin shows our protagonist the car they will take, and also gives his approval for Furball to ride with them. Cheonsu looks back to call Jun, who is meeting with a group of soldiers. Jun soon comes over and explains he was talking to the people who helped him earlier. Then our boy suggests that Jun should go with them, since those people seem like friends to him. His bros, however, tease Cheonsu for being jealous, but our hero clarifies that Jun already has a group, so it makes sense for him to go with them. As Jun leaves, Cheonsu waves at him. After parting ways, our hero gets into the Major's car. As Major Jin sits in the front, the airport building begins to collapse even further. All the cars in the area leave immediately, and Cheonsu turns pale, realizing they would have died if they had been delayed even a second longer. As they get onto the road, something underground tries to break through, and the road cracks open. The vehicles barely manage to cross, while the Major instructs his soldiers not to stop until they reach the port. Next, our boy learns they are heading for Ingok port, and there is likely a large ship waiting for them there. The soldiers before them must have made preparations, as they promised cars and actually delivered. Their conversation shifts to the port, which is nearby. The port is known mainly for its large ships that carry steel products, so even if there is a ship, it might be hard to find one suitable for their escape. It turns out one of the Major's friends works at the port, and the Major has had a chance to visit a few times. This news only makes Cheonsu worry more, so he asks his bros if there is anything he can do about the creatures emerging from the ground. His bros suggest he do nothing, since those huge monsters only live for a few hours anyway. As their car continues, it suddenly bumps into something, while the other military vehicles speed ahead without stopping. Out of nowhere, another monster bursts through the ground, cracking the road as it tries to emerge. The driver barely manages to dodge, shaking the vehicle violently. After escaping the danger, the vehicles ahead are nowhere to be seen, but the driver explains he took another route because the monster destroyed the previous path. Now they head toward the port the Major mentioned, but even though he is familiar with it, he admits he doesn't know it very well. Unexpectedly, their vehicle starts making strange noises, revealing it was damaged earlier during the bump. The driver isn't sure how much longer the car will last, so the Major orders him to drive as fast as possible. Meanwhile, our hero looks back at a big body, noting that they've managed to get away from it. He grits his teeth, wondering why things can't be peaceful even for once. After some time, they finally make it past the danger zone. Then our protagonist turns to the Major, wanting to know about the commander he spoke to over the radio. It turns out it wasn't Major Jin, but their battalion commander, who communicated with that commander. When Cheonsu presses for details, the Major explains that the battalion commander said it's difficult to act with their remaining forces, so he demanded all branches work together. When our boy asks how many troops are left, the Major admits the losses have been severe. He reveals that the commander was from the Capital Corps and assumes they are still active on the ground. Hearing this, Cheonsu is stunned, realizing the Seoul forces are not completely wiped out. Now that he thinks about it, the bullet train KTX at the station wasn't just bait. His bros are amazed that he's finally piecing everything together. Next, our protagonist sincerely thanks the Major for sharing this information. The Major just shrugs it off, saying that since they're working together, it's not an issue. After a few moments, they finally arrive at Pohang Port and spot a cruise ship. Seeing that ship, the Major immediately senses trouble. They get out of the car, seeing the cruise ship right before them. Cheonsu always wished to get on a cruise ship once in his life, but he quickly remembers what cruise ships are like in horror survival games. The Major points out the location of the ship, noting that it is anchored far from the dock. They wonder if someone is already on board. Suddenly, Furball barks as a person waves at them from the ship, but the person abruptly freezes, and the whole group starts to sense something strange. Suddenly, the ground begins to shake just like before, and the Major runs off to find his friend. The soldier next to Cheonsu goes pale and starts to panic, and our hero glares at him, noticing he looks about the same age as himself. Lost in thought, Cheonsu weighs his options. One is to hide, while the other is to try to get on the ship. Even though a big body doesn't live long, he would still need to hide for several hours for it to die, and even surviving that doesn't guarantee safety afterward. If they attempt to get on the ship, there is a high chance it could leave them behind since it looks operational. He also considers trying to reach Ingok port, but that doesn't guarantee they'll find a ship waiting for them. Before he can think further, the Major calls him from behind, having brought a cargo crane. It was because his friend had been waiting here all this time, and the soldiers stationed here had told him they were on their way. Our hero is stunned that this friend waited for so long and even has a crane ready for them. This means the ship has been anchored for a while, but fear had kept it from coming closer to dock. Major Jin shouts that his friend will position the crane so they can reach the ship soon. Suddenly, Cheonsu hears gunshots and knows they are from the 7.5th Division. He turns to the Major and asks for a weapon, but the Major has already thrown his away after it malfunctioned. Our boy insists they need to hurry and gets inside the crane. The Major pushes his friend aside and takes the controls himself, insisting his friend go with them and promising to join after. The friend hesitates, but our protagonist grabs him, explaining that if he doesn't act, Major Jin's sacrifice will be wasted. At that moment, a vehicle stops behind them, and soldiers from the 7.5th Division step out, shouting for them to stop the crane. Unexpectedly, a car rams into one of the soldiers from behind. It's Chang. Chang grabs a rifle from an unconscious soldier and starts shooting at the remaining 7.5th Division soldiers, blaming them for letting so many people die just to save themselves. The high-ranking officer of the 7.5th Division dodges the bullets and heads straight for Major Jin, seeking help, but Major Jin forcefully opens the crane door and injures the officer, making him fall to the ground. Our hero waves for Chang to come with them. Chang is shocked to see that survival is actually possible, but he still wants to eliminate the high-ranking soldier for good. Unfortunately, the rifle doesn't work. As our protagonist shouts for him to hurry, Chang finally gives up and rushes over. As they get closer to the ship, our boy notices the ship has just moved. Before things can get worse, Cheonsu buys a rope from the shop window. Chang is stunned to see a rope appear out of nowhere, but our hero simply asks him to hand over his gun. Cheonsu ties the rope to the rifle, while the crane stops as it reaches its limit. Then our hero spins the rope, preparing to jump toward the ship. He leaps as he throws the rifle, aiming for it to catch onto something. Fortunately, the rifle gets stuck on the ship's railing. Using the rope, he pulls himself up, doing his best to at least reach the checkpoint. When he finally gets there, the system notifies him that he has acquired a new skill, and the information regarding his skills has been updated. Suddenly, the rifle slips out, causing our protagonist to fall, but he manages to grab a chain and saves himself from dropping into the water. Some bros donate him Zen for his performance. Standing on a lifeboat, he summons his info panel. The system gives him a heads up about monsters roaming near the ship, and also reveals that there are dangerous beings in the ocean that threaten small boats. Realizing he will need help going forward, our boy decides to save the others left behind. When his bros ask how, he explains that cruise ships have a free-fall lifeboat, which he can lower by himself. Later, our hero manages to save everyone except Major Jin. He demands to know the name of the Major's friend, and learns it's Dongjin Cha, while the soldier beside them is Young Hunju. Cheonsu recalls that Major Jin couldn't escape because a big body appeared right there, but he believes the Major must have been happy to save their lives. Mr. Cha agrees with him. Then, our boy reminds everyone not to relax yet, as they still know nothing about the ship. He checks his skill window. His Skill 1 panel now contains aggro, record keeping, and recovery skills, while the Skill 2 panel displays the skill he earned from clearing New Master's mission. Suddenly, Mr. MOD bans the use of certain words used by the user who was banned earlier. Next, our hero decides it's time to go to the control room to gather more information about the ship. They enter an extravagant lobby, and Cheonsu spins around for a moment, enjoying a lighter mood. He draws his axe, ready to deal with anything that comes close. As they proceed, Cha points out he saw someone who looked like a kid. Our hero presses him to clarify if it was a child or just something that looked like one, and reminds everyone they need to stay vigilant since Major Jin sacrificed himself for them. Mr. Cha pauses, which makes Cheonsu think he might be another selfless martyr. He tells Cha he can do what he wants, but he won't take responsibility for him. Cha beams, mentioning how helping others matters and adds he won't forget what our hero did for him earlier. Then Hunju steps up, expressing interest in joining Major Jin's friend, believing it's his responsibility to keep him safe. Cheonsu sighs and gives permission to him as well. As both of them leave, Cheonsu asks Chang if he'll work with him, hoping they can help each other out. After a while, they reach the ship's inner area, which resembles a mall. There they find elevators, and Chang suggests using them. Unexpectedly, a zombie appears near the elevators. Our hero doesn't hesitate and eliminates it with his axe. Mr. Chang concludes that there are other people on board. Considering the massive size of the ship, Cheonsu estimates there could be almost 2,000 people present, increasing the ratio of zombies significantly. Cheonsu gets chills as he wonders if he should get on a lifeboat. He turns to Chang and suggests finding a weapon for him. Surprisingly, our boy goes inside a cloth store. Furball looks happy, and Cheonsu decides to get something for it as well. The dog heads straight to the pet treat section, so our protagonist gives it treats to eat. As he grabs more treats to store, he finds Haryong medical supplies there, which turn out to be useful for the time being, as this ship contains a medical station as well. Suddenly, Furball goes to the pet accessory section, wanting Cheonsu to select a collar for it. After putting on a collar, Furball looks more terrifying. While our boy is thinking about Mr. Chang, the elder slides behind him, showing his vibrant outfit. Cheonsu is stunned, which makes the old man wonder if he looks weird, but Cheonsu shakes his head, as he expected the elder to find a weapon for himself. Cheonsu grabs a nearby mop and separates the mop pole from it. Then, he advises the elder to use that pole as a weapon, mentioning that wide attacking weapons are best for amateurs. Now, they head to the elevator. As the elevator gate opens, both of them become alert, grabbing their weapons. The elevator seems fine and they step inside. The bros start to joke about being so alert, but our hero reminds them that zombies can pretend to be dead or drop from the ceiling. When they reach the 4th floor, the shop has updated, while a terrifying zombie attacks the elevator, making the door end up in a terrible shape. They stop on the 5th floor, and our hero dashes out instantly to see that terrifying zombie from the 5th floor. That zombie makes a terrifying loud noise, and the bros mention it's a red zombie, which are highly angry beings. Due to its presence, our hero notes they can't go down by elevator. The old man from behind Cheonsu reminds them that they can't stay for long and suggests they go ahead. Both of them run upstairs, while mazed-out Card cheers up Cheonsu, mentioning he can do it. However, he is feeling quite nervous. He wonders if they should have gone up through the exterior of the ship, but concludes that it must have been more dangerous. Therefore, he decides to go through the interior of the ship. As they move up, Chang spots a zombie coming their way, but our boy eliminates it with his axe. As his aggro skill counts 1, he learns that the red zombie doesn't seem to be interested in him. As they move ahead, they can hear the terrifying sound of that red zombie. Eventually, they reach the entrance of a theater. Cheonsu points out that if it is a multi-floored theater, then they can move up through here. But as the old man opens the door, he freezes, seeing a group of unconscious people lying on the floor. Cheonsu inspects and concludes they are still breathing. Then he decides to find another way and closes the door behind them as they leave. He decides to take the direct path as quickly and silently as they can. Ahead, they see an escalator that is filled with the same type of unconscious people. Both of them get chills as they don't know much about the situation. After asking his bros, our hero learns these people are harmless, but they should get wary of the thing which made them like this. Without thinking more, Cheonsu moves ahead, stepping on those unconscious people. However, Mr. Chang hesitates, but as he listens to the terrifying sound of that red zombie, he starts to move. He feels wrong stepping on people. As they reach the next floor, the old man believes nothing affects our protagonist and wonders what kind of training he must have had. Cheonsu acts as if he really received a horrible type of training, and the elder seems to believe him. After a couple of minutes, they reach yet another staircase, where they find the same kind of unconscious people. Unfortunately, they hear weird sounds coming from above. Cheonsu moves upstairs and finds a zombie eating the flesh of an unconscious person. He eliminates that zombie immediately, but he is stunned to learn that these people do wake up even if they are being bitten. On the other hand, his bros don't say a word to prevent spoiling anything. Next, our hero calls out to Mr. Chang and mentions they can move ahead as the path is clear. But out of nowhere, the red zombie appears. Given that situation, Cheonsu instructs Chang to move upstairs as he decides to counter that zombie. Unexpectedly, the elder charges forward with his pole, as he doesn't always want to get saved by our boy. However, the pole doesn't have any effect on the zombie, and it runs straight to our protagonist. With the pole in its mouth, the zombie tries to attack our hero, but the pole doesn't make it reach its target. Then Cheonsu strikes with his axe, but it turns out one strike isn't enough to eliminate it. As he strikes on its neck, the zombie screams in pain, and in that way, our hero learns its weakness. Meanwhile, Furball tries to bite its leg. When the zombie diverts its attention to the dog, our boy strikes its neck instantly, and the zombie gets eliminated. The old man reaches him worriedly, while Cheonsu feels lucky to learn the zombie's weakness in time. After praising Furball for its help, our hero advises Chang to listen to him the next time he tells him to run. Deep down, Cheonsu wants to avoid unnecessary sacrifices. Out of nowhere, Furball starts barking as it goes upstairs, spotting someone. As Cheonsu and the elder reach there, they unexpectedly find 3 red zombies at the same spot. Unfortunately, all 3 of them approach our hero simultaneously. However, he ducks down as the 3 of them bump into each other. Fortunately, the old man uses a fire extinguisher on the zombies to find a way out. Suddenly, a door in front opens up by a female attendant who calls them to her. After entering the next area, the door closes, leaving the zombies on the other side. The attendant assures them that the zombies can't break through that door. She makes them follow her upstairs. After reaching the top floor, the attendant advises Cheonsu to keep his axe down, but he insists on holding it. As she opens the door next to them, she shows they are in a safe area, as all the other paths leading here are blocked. After that, she welcomes them on the SS Nachala. Seeing her name, Hana Song, our boy learns she is not a foreigner because he was not aware of their country having a cruise ship. Then she explains, this one isn't a Korean vessel. It is probably that the owner wanted to attract support from a local domestic cruise line. That's why they hired a lot of Koreans. Cheonsu curiously asks why she saved them. She casually mentions she was there to check the area and coincidentally saw the 3 of them in danger. The bros give a green signal, mentioning she is just a guide, hence can be trusted. Unfortunately, our hero learns from Hana that the ship they are on won't last for long. She doesn't explain much as she suggests they should go to the bridge first, that they are using as a shelter. Our protagonist gets surprised, wondering if the captain is still alive. According to Hana, the captain is alive, and he was also the one who stood on the upper deck. After a couple of minutes, they reach the control room. There, some of the crew members are present as well. All of those people are shocked to see our hero. The ship's captain turns toward them, and Hana explains he is Russian, but he is able to speak 5 languages. The captain apologizes to Cheonsu for not being able to rescue them himself. As our boy greets him, the captain is shocked to hear they boarded at Pohang Port. Cheonsu is also stunned to see the captain's reaction, but the captain states he didn't think they would actually board like that, and adds they needed to move the ship as they were in a tough spot. Now Cheonsu is curious to know why the ship was anchored a bit far, but the captain does not say a word. However, Hana and the other attendants try to calm our boy, explaining that if they got any closer, they would have been killed. The captain apologizes again, saying there was a reason they had to do it. Sensing something is off, our hero deliberately brings up the soldiers who were with him. He sits down on a chair and asks for some water. The male attendants are furious at seeing him act arrogantly, but Cheonsu coldly asks if it's too much to ask for a cup of water. The captain orders a crew member to fetch a cup of water, advising that someone accompany them. The attendant protests, not wanting to leave the captain alone, but the captain insists he will be fine here. Feeling the captain wants to talk privately, our protagonist instructs Chang and Furball to go with them. After everyone else leaves, the captain is curious about what Cheonsu meant by soldiers, suspecting it was brought up intentionally. Then, our boy asks if the captain knows about the 7.5th Division. The captain wonders if Cheonsu is one of them, but our hero clarifies that he is not. The captain sighs and explains that the division contacted him, saying they would arrive at the port and needed a ship. Surprisingly, the captain had been looking forward to talking with the soldiers, since the ship is in a terrible situation. They needed soldiers to wipe out all the monsters, and there was no way to check if the other crew members were alive. However, the captain sensed something was wrong when those soldiers requested the ship to anchor nearby, as they planned to board on their own. Our boy is stunned, and one of his bros questions why they are assuming these are the same 7.5th Division Cheonsu met. The thought makes our protagonist pause. He realizes the captain was unable to contact the Cheongju 7.5th Division in advance through the ship's communication system. He wonders if there is another 7.5th Division nearby. He also learns that no soldier was able to board. Then, Cheonsu questions if the captain deliberately sent his crew out because they are not aware of this. The captain mentions they know everything except that he told them the soldiers were from the Navy, which means the captain already sensed something wrong with the 7.5th Division. He sighs, murmuring that they needed a ship to get to Jeju Island to accomplish a greater goal. Cheonsu is shocked as the captain was still going to let them on board, but the captain says he had no other choice. This ship won't last for long because the controls have started to fail, so the ship can't be controlled properly. When our boy asks what the captain was hoping for from the soldiers, the captain states that the engine room is situated in the lowest part of the ship. That area is now filled with monsters, and as a result, all the engineers have been killed, except for one who is present here. He begs our hero to help him deal with this problem, as he thinks our protagonist is the only one who can pull this off. At first, Cheonsu is reluctant, but then admits he is specialized in doing the impossible. After that, the crew arrives with water for Cheonsu. Chang explains that this area is sealed off, hence blocking off a lot of danger. Moments later, the captain discusses things with his crew. Meanwhile, Cheonsu checks his shop window, where he finds a new item called Mask Locator. Although he doesn't know what it does, our hero trusts his bros and purchases it. Now he is left with a total of 74 Zen. Just then, the captain finishes briefing his crew, who are ready to help Cheonsu. Our protagonist wonders if they have understood everything, especially the crew member, Young-ho Bai. Young-ho looks forward to cooperating with Cheonsu but gives a reminder that he won't be his helper. He refuses to follow whatever he is ordered to do and makes it clear that they will take care of their own. On the other hand, our boy is content with that, as he also doesn't want to take care of anyone else besides himself. Meanwhile, the BROs clearly see the sparks between these two. After that, all of them go to the lockers in search of suitable weapons. However, our hero already has his axe and is content with it, while Young-ho decides to grab a metal pipe. As they finish getting ready, our Cheonsu checks his mask locator, which apparently shows a sign of nearby. He then asks the engineer if they know anything about those passed out people on the ship. The engineer explains it's actually the work of a small monster, which explodes itself when it gets near someone. The gas it emits makes the person end up being unconscious like that. Apparently, there is no way to tackle that creature. Suddenly, our protagonist remembers two of his companions separating from the group because they wanted to go after someone who looked like a child. Now he wants to know how they can tackle those creatures, but the engineer doesn't know how to do that, though he suggests using a wet cloth to wrap around the face in order to avoid inhaling that dangerous gas. After everyone puts on a wet cloth, they finally decide to head down. All the crew leave, ignoring our hero. He notes that Young-ho is just jealous of a stranger being acknowledged by his captain. Then he calls for Furball to go with him and communicates through a communication device. Down below, Young-ho decides to lead the way by opening the door, but he is wary of our boy as he glares at him. This doesn't affect Cheonsu, but he knows that the red zombies are still there behind that door. Therefore, he raises his axe to get prepared for the worst. He explains they will run into monsters once they get down from here, and meanwhile Young Ho is about to open the door. Cheonsu suddenly approaches him, instructs everyone to keep quiet, and then tries to listen for the footsteps of those red zombies. When he senses nothing, our hero backs off immediately, while everyone else grows confused. After bracing himself, Young Ho opens up the door and, fortunately, finds no monster on the other side. As our hero steps out, he sees his mask locator indicating 5 masks on the same floor, while the arrow on it blinks. But Cheonsu notes it blinks faster the closer he gets to the masks. Suddenly they hear a huge sound of a zombie incoming from nearby. Our protagonist immediately suggests everyone stand next to the railing of the escalator. As everyone does what he says, he explains that these red zombies are like bulls. He instructs them to move the second the creatures get closer to them. One red zombie appears, coming to attack one of the crew members, and as it comes closer, our boy immediately pulls that crew member aside. The zombie slams into the railing and falls to the lower floor after losing its balance. But before they can rest, a few more red zombies come, and this time their target is Young Ho. Now 2 of the red zombies are chasing Young Ho. He ducks down immediately, and one zombie falls to the lower floor, but he doesn't get time to dodge the second one. Fortunately, our hero kicks him hard and sends him back, so the other zombie also ends up falling to the lower floor. Our boy asks if Young Ho is alright, adding that it was necessary to kick him to save his life. After that, he mentions that he will be going somewhere to find a mask. The engineer gets curious, and Cheonsu explains that the cloths on their faces aren't enough for protection, so they need something better. Surprisingly, Young Ho nods in agreement. Later, all of them reach the food area. Young Ho is curious to know what our hero is holding, as it doesn't look like a pocket watch. However, our protagonist shrugs it off, reminding Young Ho they should be focusing on the task at hand. He points out that a veteran crew member like Young Ho knows much more about the ship than he does, and bets that Young Ho is more familiar with everything on board. Young Ho agrees with a happy face. Therefore, Cheonsu admits he is better at fighting but doesn't know much about the ship, which is why he's putting his faith in Young Ho to guide him. Our boy is determined to help them save their precious ship. With that, they move ahead, and the engineer points at the multi-purpose storage ahead, suspecting that masks will probably be there. Standing in front of the door, they peek inside and find one zombie. Our hero signals the engineer to open the door, and when the zombie steps out, he slays it with his axe. The engineer praises his work, and Cheonsu steps inside. He finds masks for everyone, but his happiness fades when Furball steps in after him. He makes a sad face thinking there are only masks for humans. As he feels sorry for Furball, the dog notices something and points. Surprisingly, the dog has found a dog mask. Our protagonist is stunned, as he has never heard of people putting gas masks on dogs. Then he reflects that since the ship has a pet shop, pets must be allowed on board. When he looks closely, he sees there are only 5 masks for humans, and all the others are for dogs and cats. He feels like his bros are hiding something, but they swear they're not. Then he puts the mask on Furball. After everyone gets their masks on, they set out once more. On the way, they hear zombies making terrifying sounds. Fortunately, Young Ho suggests they use the path reserved for crew members only. That route is only known to a small number of people, so there shouldn't be any potential danger. They reach the secret staircase going down, a pathway that connects all the lower floors except the engine room. Cheonsu reflects that the engine room has been radio silent since the monsters appeared, which means they are getting closer to danger. After some time, they finally reach the exit. Young Ho opens the door and motions for everyone to move forward. However, out of nowhere, his mask gets destroyed by a zombie. Cheonsu rushes forward and strikes down the attacking zombie immediately. The fellow crew members get worried about Young Ho, but our hero believes he has not been bitten. Meanwhile, the bros suggest eliminating him right away, saying he will turn soon. As Young Ho takes off his mask, Cheonsu observes that the injuries are from his broken mask, not from the zombie directly. Young Ho feels pain, having lost one eye. Therefore, our protagonist decides to leave him behind. When the others protest, Cheonsu reminds them they have another priority and can't waste time finding a safe place for an injured person. Young Ho agrees and insists his companions focus on the task, saying that way they will help him too. The group continues their journey, finding only regular zombies lingering, but there are fewer than on the upper floors. Suddenly, they hear sounds of impact ahead. Our hero instructs Furball to scout the area. The dog goes ahead, returns quickly, and points for our boy to follow. As they move forward, they find Young Hun fighting zombies. The group joins in and together wipes out all the zombies. Young Hun recognizes Cheonsu immediately. Afterward, he suggests they not go further down, explaining that the child they tried to rescue turned out to be a monster. It explodes and releases dust after attaching itself to someone. Our protagonist is curious how Young Hun has survived so far. He explains that Mr. Cha saved him. It was too late when they realized the child was a monster, and they got trapped in a narrow corridor. Cha shut the door and tried to face the monster alone to save Young Hun, but after breathing in the dust, he collapsed instantly. Young Hun saw him through the window, but couldn't risk opening the door in case the dust was still present. Now Young feels terrible as a human being, but Cheonsu points out he had no other choice. He gestures at his mask, explaining that they came prepared to tackle such threats. Young admits that if it weren't for his scary eyes, he might not have recognized him. Our boy pauses for a moment, although maxed out card says he actually has kind eyes. He shrugs it off and instructs the corporal to leave this area since he does not have a mask. Cheonsu tells him to stay alert and says that if he heads in that direction, he'll find one of their crew members injured there. He also instructs him to go to the lifeboat they used earlier to get here. After Yang leaves, the group eventually reaches the lowest floor. Inside the closed corridor, they see Mr. Cha lying unconscious. When Cheonsu asks the bros how to cure that illness, one confirms that there is a way. Next, our hero instructs everyone to prioritize the safety of the engineer as soon as they step inside. They don't know how long the repairs will take, but it's crucial to protect the engineer the entire time. 2 crew members take the lead. Suddenly, a normal zombie appears and the group eliminates it instantly. Then the small-sized zombie finally shows up. As it gets close, it explodes, emitting poisonous gas. Fortunately, everyone has their masks on, but before they can do anything, 2 dusts dash out at once. One dust grabs a crew member and explodes. On the other hand, the second zombie is about to grab Cheonsu, but fortunately Furball bumps into it and throws it away. Afterwards, our boy rushes straight to the fallen crew member, but sadly he is already out, as his mask has loosened. With no choice left, the remaining members leave him behind and move forward. They reach near the engine department and shut the closest door. Meanwhile, maxed out card advises our hero to be careful, since there are things he can't notice due to his mask. Gritting his teeth, he decides to remove Furball's mask, asking it to use its sense of smell to help him out. Furball follows Cheonsu's instructions, staying alert for anything strange. As it runs ahead, our protagonist suddenly spots an only bear. He immediately follows it and ultimately finds a chest marked with a paw sign worth 20 zen. From this, he realizes it's not a coincidence that this ship allows pets, and even has masks for cats and dogs. He gets stunned when he finds canned food inside the chest. Meanwhile, Furball comes back as if it has found something. Then Cheonsu calls for one remaining crew member to follow Furball. As our hero moves deeper into the engine facility, he finds engineers trapped under rubble, while hot gases leak from the pipes. It turns out to be an oil mist. As the crew member arrives, he instantly spots the chief engineer trapped, but unexpectedly, the man has turned into a zombie. Suddenly, they hear the sound of a red zombie. As they try to escape, a dust spots them and releases gas. Cheonsu decides to retreat, but another dust emits gas near him. Suddenly, he sees a group of red zombies dropping down from a bridge ahead. As they land, they emit even more gas and the whole place fills with a heavy fog. Unable to see clearly, our protagonist mistakes a red zombie for the engineer. That zombie instantly attacks our hero, but he doesn't give up and strikes the zombie repeatedly. After losing its balance, the red zombie slams into a wall. Seizing the moment, our boy strikes its neck 10 times to finish it off for good. Now he is breathing heavily, and unfortunately, he finds his arm has been bitten. He panics, instantly tying a piece of cloth around it to prevent the spread of the zombie virus. He frantically wonders if he really got bitten. When did it happen? He doesn't remember, as he was unable to see anything clearly. He recalls the past events, how he was chased by the dusts and then encountered the red zombie. Meanwhile, his bros try to calm him down, but after bracing himself, Cheonsu gets ready to chop off his arm. Cheonsu stops when maxed out card tells him to, insisting he will be fine. He shows reluctance, but his superfan tells him to leave it as it is, saying it's similar. Our boy is confused and also mentions he doesn't have time to waste here. The other bros also say not to chop off his arm, while crying lunatic mentions he has already taken care of it. Maxed out card insists again as they wonder if he doesn't trust them. However, our protagonist can only grow more confused, wondering if he will be fine, and notes he doesn't feel anything else besides pain. He implies the hot fumes are behind his heavy breathing. Then he finally decides to trust his bros and move ahead. After a couple of minutes, our hero finds the engineer lying unconscious and notes he is already dead. Meanwhile, another crew member, along with the dog, finds him. Seeing the situation, Cheonsu decides to head back, but the crew member worriedly asks about the ship. He explains that the oil is leaking, the engineer is dead, and the ship will explode at any moment. They need to get on a lifeboat to save themselves. As our boy decides to leave, he contacts Hana, explains the whole situation to her, and lets her know about heading to a lifeboat. The ship starts to turn over, while the system shows him the info he got before. Suddenly, something explodes behind them, and the crew member urges them to shut the bulkhead door to prevent the danger. However, our protagonist reminds him they really need to get out, but despite that, the worker leaves to shut those doors. Then Cheonsu heads with Furball, and they find Young-ho. When Young learns about the situation, he decides to stay, not wanting to abandon his colleagues. As Cheonsu steps ahead, he decides not to forget the memories of them working together. He finally reaches outside as multiple blasts erupt. The soldier Young is already there. Hana will also reach there in 5 minutes. Our hero only hopes to rescue at least one more person. He recalls that since he got separated from his group, he was unable to form a proper team. In the meantime, Hana finally reaches, stating the captain decided to stay behind, and Mr. Chang is nowhere to be found. Without wasting more time, our protagonist decides to lower the boat. Later, Cheonsu, sitting in the control room, sighs as he regrets rescuing only 2 people, even though he entered the ship with more people. Seeing the info regarding potential danger in the sea, he knows they are still in danger. Meanwhile, Hana mentions to Young that the captain decided to stay as he can't abandon the ship and its passengers. He also decided to protect those who are getting off the ship. On the other hand, our boy's condition is only getting worse, and he wonders if it was right for him to get on the ship. Other than Furball's sake, he didn't gain anything. His body is all sweaty as he asks his bros why they are not responding. Suddenly, he feels a sharp pain and his vision gets blurry. The system shows a warning that his life is in danger. The wound is only getting worse and his body refuses to move. He shuts the door of the control room and doesn't want the other 2 to come closer. They learn what is truly happening, and our protagonist is starting to turn. He mutters to Maxed Out Card that they mentioned he will be fine, but his so-called superfan only refuses. Maxed Out Card praises his progress till this point, but they were afraid that he would end up like this. One bro states that Maxed Out Card nominated Crying Lunatic for a purpose. The other says they are working together. Cheonsu coughs and feels his joints twist painfully while he feels his body burning. Sadly, the system notifies that he is in a critical condition. The system produces a shrill beep sound as our hero's eyes shut down. After a moment, his eyes open up as he feels like devouring humans. Cheonsu in zombie form reaches to grab Young, wanting to devour him. The corporal kicks him back, and as he is lying there, our boy realizes he can't read chat anymore. He gets up, determined to devour Young again, and Young quickly opens the exit door. Surprisingly, the system notifies that a skill is being unlocked and will take effect in 30 seconds. However, he still manages to grab the soldier. After a struggle, Young falls into the sea. The countdown ends, and the skill recovery activates. A blue light surrounds our protagonist, and he returns to normal. His body is back to how it was before, except for the scar from his wound. Otherwise, he is perfectly fine. He calls for the corporal, but there is no response. Looking back at Hana, he wonders if she has been bitten or not. His bros are overjoyed to see him alive, recognizing that he has just received a revival. Looking at the skill window, Cheonsu learns he has just used the recovery skill, which was locked when he boarded the ship. The skill needs 30 seconds to activate after the player dies from infection, and he notices the notification appeared after more than 30 seconds. Now he is concerned about Hana, since she might have been bitten. As he observes her closely, he does not find any wounds. He asks his bros what just happened while he was a zombie. He steps closer, and Hana turns to him, then grabs him unexpectedly. She wonders if she has scared him, knowing she has caught him off guard. Our hero is confused as ever, and she can feel how heavy he is breathing. Cheonsu immediately frees himself, realizing that although she looks like Hana, inside, she is someone else. The girl in Hana's form mentions they already know each other. Meanwhile, the MOD lifts the ban on certain words, and then comments pour in from the bros, stunned that everything was done just for this. Our boy remains confused while the girl with Hana's appearance pulls him by the collar, clearly enjoying seeing his reactions up close. As our protagonist demands to know who she is, she finally admits she is Maxed Out Card. Hearing this, Cheonsu screams as loud as he can. She stares at our hero, softly grabbing his face. He doesn't believe her at all, and Maxed Out Card explains she has done so much to make this happen. She used a large amount of her savings and then planted a MOD. She says she already knew he would ask her for the MOD recommendation, and states that none of this would have happened if Cheonsu had never received that critical warning. She also explains she needed to fulfill some conditions to unlock the new fan meeting feature, and the critical warning was her condition. Our protagonist learns that spectators also have special features in the game, including the fan meeting feature. He also learns that words were banned to make sure no one would interfere, even in critical condition. Cheonsu stands in shock as everything unfolds. It turns out he cannot change the MOD without the approval of his superfan. Our hero feels uneasy, realizing he has fallen right into Maxed Out Card's trap. He let his guard down since she was his only superfan, and she did not stop him even when he was in a difficult situation on the ship. He asks her purpose, knowing she wouldn't have done all this just for an autograph. He wonders if she is really here in person, and Maxed Out Card points at his strategy, probing further. But all our boy wants is to know more about this new feature, and he learns she cannot stay longer than an hour, so she does not want to waste their time talking about boring matters. She also needs to get other superfans to agree to this, but Cheonsu does not have other superfans. Next, Maxed Out Card changes the topic, reminding him she cannot give spoilers as she did before, but she can still do some things while she is there, and she covers his ears. Meanwhile, someone hums from the sea for a couple of minutes, but our protagonist still feels someone is singing. As the sound stops, Maxed Out Card explains it is a siren, and anyone who listens to their singing loses control. Cheonsu notes that he did not expect this level of difficulty, but Maxed Out Card is unaffected as she is only present mentally, and wishes for him to sit beside her. Cheonsu doesn't understand the point of chatting in a world that's falling apart. However, Maxed Out Card points to his eyes, saying they can't reveal what's really going on in his mind. She feels happy to experience how this world feels. Our boy, curious, wonders if she is from another world. She doesn't provide a clear answer, but our hero senses she is certainly not from the same place. According to him, a player and the audience shouldn't get involved with each other, as everything starts to fall apart when the audience interferes with the player. He knows Maxed Out Card has friendly intentions but thinks she has gone too far. He then demands to know if this is the only time they are meeting, which makes her ask whether that would make him disappointed. But she knows he is acting this way for a reason, as he is the one picked by only one after all. She wonders if he is considering picking an audience member, but Cheonsu isn't interested in that. It turns out that, to do so, he would have to fulfill specific conditions. Meanwhile, our protagonist freezes, wondering if she will use his recovery skill again by force. He points out that this situation feels both simple and not simple at the same time. He learns that fan meetings can only occur once every 3 days. Even though Maxed Out Card feels bored discussing these details, she still enjoys being able to stay like this. Suddenly, Furball peeks out from the control room, and Cheonsu notes that it was hiding somewhere when he turned into a zombie. To his surprise, Furball doesn't approach Maxed Out Card, clearly afraid of her. Our hero is stunned, wondering what Furball sees in Maxed Out Card. Suddenly, a ship approaches their boat. His superfan peeks out and the ship finally notices them. Unexpectedly, the people on the ship mock them for sailing on such a small boat. The superfan tells our boy not to do anything and insists that he should rest. After a few minutes, the ship moves on, but none of the bros provide any information about it. After a moment, Cheonsu witnesses that ship getting destroyed by an Emperor-class monster. Right after, he checks his info panel, which gives him details about the word fog in the sea and tells him he died once and unlocked the title He Who Did Not Know Death. Info 3 shows that real-time notifications are now active, and he will receive updates as things happen. He decides to stop the boat, not wanting to get involved with such a huge monster. But Maxed Out Card assures him they will be fine, reminding him that the dangers differ for small and large boats. This is already mentioned in his info panel. He then learns that the siren from earlier is actually a minor threat. Those sirens don't bother with larger things because they can't climb on them. On the other hand, the Emperor-class monster Kraken only targets ships its own size. As she has our protagonist sit, she encourages him to use the time to sleep. Although he hesitates at first, our boy still closes his eyes. He thinks he can't sleep in this situation, but his superfan assures him she won't be clingy. She then asks if she needs that body the next time she appears. She shakes her head but adds that it will be his decision whether or not she stays. He finally falls asleep. When he opens his eyes, the sun has already risen. Meanwhile, Maxed Out Card is sleeping, leaning on his shoulder. When she wakes up, she immediately hits his head out of embarrassment. As she starts to panic, he realizes that Maxed Out Card is gone. Hana, clearly embarrassed, demands an explanation, but Cheonsu claims that they were both unconscious. He makes up a story about a monster that came up and messed with their brains, causing her to lose her memories and end up lying there unconscious. He explains that Corporal Yong fell into the sea and is still missing. Then he notices their lifeboat has stopped, and he doesn't understand what has gone wrong with its engine. It seems like the Kraken has disappeared as well, since nothing happened even though their boat was left completely open. Not able to find any clues, he calls out to Maxed Out Card. However, according to the bros, after a fan meeting, she is locked out of the chat for 3 days. One suggests reaching out through community DMs, but it turns out those are locked as well. Through this conversation, our hero learns that they even have a community and can meet in person. Meanwhile, Furball is hiding under a sheet. When it comes out, Cheonsu removes its mask, gives it water, and offers the treat he got from the chest. As Hana appears, he remembers Maxed Out Card's face and sighs. Hana, noticing this, starts to panic about his behavior, but our boy lies and says he sighed because of the current situation. He then asks what they should do if the lifeboat stops functioning. However, Hana only knows that they can rely on the distress signal, as these boats are equipped with a device to send one out. This makes our protagonist feel stressed, since it is already tough to expect a sea rescue even in a normal world. In short, their only real option is to fire a flare if they see someone nearby. Cheonsu suggests they should rest, believing that it will take some time for them to be rescued. As Hana sits down, she admits she truly can't remember what happened to her. She feels guilty, knowing her captain trusted her to keep others safe. Next, our hero wonders aloud if she has any unique skills, and Hana mentions her gymnastic abilities. Our boy insists she show those skills, saying he wants to decide whether he should help her survive or not. With determination, she performs a stunt. All the bros, including Cheonsu, are stunned by her flexibility. Suddenly, a helicopter flies by, but unfortunately the flare they have doesn't work. They also realize there isn't another flare on the boat. After finding a whistle, Hana blows it as loudly as she can, but still, the helicopter doesn't notice them. Cheonsu advises her not to use it unnecessarily, as it could attract monsters. He then wonders why there aren't any extra flares, and Hana suddenly remembers that someone used a flare gun as a weapon back on the ship. Normally there would be an extra flare gun, so she wonders if someone took it. After finishing their food, Furball barks, and the system announces it has reached level 2, and its status can now be checked in the pet window. Our protagonist can hardly believe it, while Furball barks confidently. From the pet window, he discovers Furball's skill, One Bright Dog. This skill can expand up to 5 kilometers and is usable for 5 minutes, 3 times a week. Suddenly 2 helicopters appear nearby. Without knowing how to activate the skill, our hero awkwardly says the name of the skill out loud. Unexpectedly, Furball starts to glow, emitting golden light. The light is so intense that Cheonsu's eyes can't handle it, and he collapses onto Hana, yelling for less light. The comment section comes alive, excited by Furball's display. Still, the helicopters continue on without noticing them. As Hana lies there, she freaks out, while our boy comments that it's his first time seeing something like this as well. Hana, however, points out that he said bright dog earlier, but Cheonsu denies it. Holding the radiant Furball, he is happy to realize they won't need a flare anymore. He insists he doesn't know what happened with Furball and claims it doesn't matter, as long as it helps them. Placing Furball on the boat's roof gives a reference to the poem Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, since he knows the dog understands him completely. He then gives Furball clear instructions to blink its light if it sees any helicopter passing by. After going inside the boat, he reassures Hana that Furball can handle it, and that it's safer for both of them. He feels there's a high chance more helicopters will pass by, since they have already seen a couple in the area. The one who led him to this point was maxed out card, and our boy doubts she would abandon him to die like this. Still, he can't help but feel uneasy about the engine malfunction and the missing flares. Out of the blue, he asks Hana her age. She's taken aback, but he explains he's interested in getting to know each other, and guesses they both look around the same age. This turns out to be correct. Both are 26. Wanting to test her loyalty, our protagonist asks if they can trust any people they meet in the future. He adds that, given the state of this world, it's impossible to survive without allies. If others find out they're only together temporarily, people might try to take advantage of them. He suggests that Hana should act as though they know each other well, and she goes along, asking if it's enough to just make others believe they are good friends. After nodding, Cheonsu tells her to act as if they have been through life and death experiences together. Meanwhile, Furball lights up as it detects a helicopter, and Cheonsu, together with Hana, gets ready. Someone in the helicopter notices them and lowers the aircraft. In a short time, about 10 more helicopters appear. However, our hero is worried about one thing. All this noise from the helicopters might provoke the Kraken. At that moment, a helicopter lowers a stretcher, but doesn't send anyone down. There are 2 possibilities. Either they are short-staffed, or they don't want to take the risk of sending someone below. As soon as all 3 step onto the stretcher, Kraken grabs the lifeboat. The bros explain that Kraken attacks what it considers to be a threat, and the noise from the helicopters has angered it. Cheonsu quickly calls for an offer, to throw his bag away in exchange for a reward that halves the total weight on the stretcher for 3 minutes. It's expensive, costing 68 zen. Meanwhile, the pilot tries to take the helicopter higher, making the stretcher swing wildly, and our protagonist shouts for him to stop. New Master surprisingly accepts the offer, so our boy throws his bag into the sea and the reward is applied. With their weight now halved, they still struggle to balance on the stretcher. Soon, Kraken's tentacles reach for them. Cheonsu yells for the helicopter to ascend. Unfortunately, one tentacle lashes out at the stretcher, causing Furball to fall. Luckily, Hana grabs Furball's leg, and her own leg gets stuck in a belt, keeping her from falling. Holding onto Hana's leg, our protagonist asks for another rope to be sent down. When a rope finally drops from the helicopter, Furball grabs it, and all 3 of them manage to reach the helicopter. Both Hana and Furball get inside, but when it's Cheonsu's turn, his weight returns to normal, and he loses his balance, almost falling. Before Cheonsu could fall down, Hana grabbed his hand and saved him. After successfully reaching the helicopter, our protagonist acted brave, saying he would have been fine without Hana's help, and she just shrugged it off casually. Meanwhile, the bros praised her work and pointed out Cheonsu's awkwardness. After he thanked her, the firefighter humbly mentioned they weren't able to help as many people who needed them. After noting the helicopter had only a pilot and a firefighter, our hero remarked that they had saved a very important person, so it was fine. After drinking water, Cheonsu offered it to Hana, mentioning that if she accepted, that would mean he would have been fine alone. When he saw Hana's upset face, he quickly called it a joke. Our boy panicked inside, not knowing why he was acting that way after being helped by someone. He thought Hana wouldn't be that capable without maxed out card taking over her body. Then, turning back to the medic, he asked about their destination and learned they were heading to Jeju Island. According to the medic, the other routes were more dangerous than this one. He said someone from Jeju Island told them that the airport side defenses were still hanging on. As long as they reached the building, they would be safe, and that's why everyone else was also heading to Jeju Airport. When Cheonsu asked if this information was given by soldiers, the medic revealed he didn't know their identities, except that it was said to be a safe area. Our protagonist was stunned to learn that such a thing was enough for them to believe, and the medic explained people were urgently trying to find safe places because there was no other option left except trusting them. Cheonsu then curiously asked if there were any places other than Jeju Island, but the medic was also not well aware of this. Our hero wondered if Jeju Island was his final destination. He felt like he had missed something on his way. After thinking a bit, the medic revealed there was a rumor that some people were going to Seoul, which was the complete opposite direction to Jeju Island. But in the end, Cheonsu wasn't able to get any important info from the medic. All of a sudden, his info panel got an update, informing him about potential danger waiting on Jeju Island, and that Jeju Airport was filled with things he would need. Plus, Min Cheol, Seon Yeon, and Haryong were heading towards Yongdongpo Station. Our boy didn't know why his friends were heading towards Seoul. After that, he communicated with the pilot, asking about their destination, but the pilot didn't give a clear answer. Then Cheonsu requested the pilot to land somewhere with fewer people instead of directly at the airport. The pilot again gave a confusing answer. As our hero looked at him closely, the pilot turned out not to be a first responder. According to the medic, he found the pilot and, needing someone to fly a helicopter, asked him for help. Putting on a headset, Cheonsu insisted the pilot land somewhere else, as they didn't know what was waiting at the airport. The pilot gave a neutral remark. Suddenly they saw a high number of aircraft heading towards Jeju Island, so our protagonist again insisted the pilot land elsewhere, fearing they might crash into each other and die. However, the pilot insisted on landing at the airport, which made Cheonsu pissed off. After a moment, they saw mayflies attacking the aircraft. Some of them exploded. With no other option left, the pilot flew the helicopter fast while dodging the monsters. Meanwhile, Hana and Furball were getting tossed around inside. After some minutes, they were finally able to fly out of the danger zone. But Cheonsu was still frowning as he noted the mayflies had caused a disruption, making the pilots come in each other's way. If this went on, they would crash soon. All of them were panicking as they didn't know who would be the next target of those monsters. They couldn't even jump into the water due to the potential danger. Then our hero requested the pilot to let him listen to the communication others were having on the public channel. After connecting, he listened to the pilots cursing and mocking each other while trying to make way for themselves. The pilot then mentioned they couldn't work with people having this kind of attitude. The pilot shows reluctance to land anywhere other than Jeju Airport. Cheonsu then comes up with a plan. He asks the pilot about his level of skill, and when the pilot claims he's proficient, our hero asks if he can fly with his eyes closed. The pilot replies he can if he's already seen the flight path. That's when Cheonsu informs him he's decided to use a flare. Later, Furball is hanging down from the helicopter using its skill. The light it emits is so bright that other pilots can't see the path properly, and the aircraft start colliding. Through the public comms, our protagonist can clearly hear their screams and seems to be enjoying the chaos. Just moments before, Cheonsu had discussed the plan with the pilot. The pilot pointed out that there were no flares left, but our boy confidently said he had something much better. He asked again if the pilot could fly blind, and the pilot replied it wouldn't be a problem unless a flare popped up right in front of him. Suggesting the pilot wear his shades, Cheonsu then connected with the public communications. He tried to negotiate, reminding the other pilots that they couldn't land safely if things continued like this. Despite his warnings, the others refused to listen, so our hero insisted that they would all end up in a dangerous situation at Jeju Airport if they didn't cooperate. Even after urging everyone to work together, one of the pilots cursed at him and claimed the people with him were far more precious than anyone else there. This made Cheonsu angry. He tied a rope to Furball and advised everyone to put on sunglasses if they wanted to survive, but the pilots only continued to curse him. Giving them one last chance to put on their shades, our protagonist received the same response. Annoyed, he threw Furball down and ordered it to use its power at maximum. Now in the present, Furball is shining intensely below while the other aircraft collide and crash into each other. After a few minutes, only their helicopter remains airborne, while all the others are completely destroyed. Pulling Furball back up, Cheonsu happily announces that everyone else crashed after the accident. Eventually, they land safely at Jeju Airport. The firefighter watches them with obvious fear, and our hero simply bids farewell as his group prepares to move on. Deep down, Cheonsu knows why the firefighter looked at him like that. He was the reason all those aircraft crashed. Meanwhile, the pilot stands to the side, watching them from behind. Cheonsu gives a slight bow and moves ahead, not wanting to get involved with someone so stubborn. He remembers the warnings about being cautious around people at Jeju Airport. After a few minutes, the group peeks inside the main building. Seeing nothing unusual, they enter. Strangely, there isn't a single person or monster inside, and the area appears unexpectedly clean. Moving further in, Cheonsu notices some moss, but his bros quickly explain that it's hell moss. If someone touches it, it turns into a moss ball and vaporizes instantly. Our hero decides to keep clear of it. Suddenly, Furball spots someone lying ahead. After a close inspection, it points out the person isn't a zombie. Unexpectedly, that person wakes up and screams upon seeing Cheonsu's group. The stranger rises, apparently intent on attacking Cheonsu, but receives a kick instead. As he collapses, our boy pins him down with his foot and demands that he reveal his identity. Hana suggests checking the stranger for weapons, but Cheonsu orders Furball to handle the search. In the end, no weapons are found. Our hero is convinced this blonde stranger isn't simply someone looking for a fight. The blonde man insists he is homeless, but Cheonsu is skeptical. The man repeats that he is truly homeless, explaining that he reacted earlier because he saw an axe in Cheonsu's hand. When threatened with the axe, the stranger claims he is a free traveler, a Korean-British individual who started his journey from the UK and was supposed to transfer flights here to China. The protagonist tries to confirm if his flights were cancelled and if that led to him living at the airport. The blonde confirms this, so Cheonsu asks if he knows what's happening outside. The stranger appears confused and denies seeing any monsters or zombies. Our boy doesn't accept this and presses down harder with his foot. Under pressure, the man insists he has no reason to lie and really doesn't know what has people so afraid outside. Cheonsu finally removes his foot after hearing this. After sighing, the stranger reveals he never went outside, though others have. He mentions that the first floor, which is used for domestic flights, is filled with refugees from nearby areas. At this, our hero points out the contradiction. The man mentioned people being afraid of monsters but claimed not to have seen any himself. The blonde tries to convince him that he personally hasn't seen anything, but other people have. Meanwhile, Cheonsu observes that many people went out of the airport, but the runways are empty, suggesting something must have happened. The protagonist decides he needs to investigate the lower floors, but the stranger wonders why they don't simply ask him instead, which would save them the trouble. It turns out the man is afraid of those on the lower floors, saying he gets a bad feeling from them. He urges Cheonsu not to go down, claiming he is stopping him for his own sake because those people will come up and target Cheonsu as well. Our hero wonders aloud why the stranger chose to be here instead of waiting on the third floor, which is for international flights. The blonde says he was frustrated with waiting and decided to check out the other floors. Plus, there was no one upstairs to bother him. He repeats his warning about going down to those wild people, mentioning the 7.5th Division. Upon hearing about the 7.5th Division, our boy leans in to find out more. It turns out the 7.5th Division promised to take everyone to safety if the airport was secured, but in the end, the 7.5th Division never showed up. Cheonsu asks for Hana's opinion, and she suggests they need proof to confirm whether this stranger is being honest or not. Leaning closer, Hana demands to see both his passport and boarding pass, explaining that she knows his transfer flight is through the same airline. The blonde only wants to show his passport, but Hana insists on seeing both. As the man rummages through his pockets, he realizes he left those items in his bag, which is somewhere else. Cheonsu decides to send Furball with him, just in case. While waiting for their return, our protagonist discusses with his bros that he simply doesn't want to overlook anything, which is why he hasn't dismissed the blonde man. Deep down, our hero believes that things will become more dangerous as they approach the lower floors. Several minutes later, the blonde man returns with both his passport and boarding pass. After checking them, the group confirms that he wasn't lying. Even so, Cheonsu decides to remain cautious, listening to the man but not fully trusting him, and also learns his name, Hugh Howard Holmes. He suggests that it would be best if Hugh acted as their guide, but Hugh resists, saying he doesn't want to get the people downstairs involved. Without wasting any more time, our boy chooses to move ahead without Hugh. After some time, the group is crossing a corridor. Suddenly, our protagonist spots Only Bear and immediately gives chase, leaving the others behind. Unexpectedly, Cheonsu comes across two chests at the same time. Cheonsu freezes at the sight of two chests appearing at the same time. One chest requires 6 Zen to open, while the other demands 23 Zen. Our boy decides against wasting Zen here, thinking it could cause problems later on. With that in mind, he opens the 6 Zen chest first and finds the same flashlight he obtained previously. Although this item had been valuable to him before, it doesn't seem impressive now. Not satisfied, he immediately tries the second chest and receives a key. As soon as our protagonist takes hold of it, excitement washes over him, and he becomes convinced that the key will unlock a door to a safe room or provide an exit. At the same time, one of the bros donates a Zen. To our hero, finding a key is proof this isn't a low-level area. Suddenly, a scream from Hana echoes through the space. As Cheonsu turns around, he notices Furball right next to him and yells at it, demanding to know what it's doing there. A couple of minutes later, they discover Hana being restrained by 2 police officers. When Cheonsu tries to speak to Furball, it sulks, and he remembers having yelled at it earlier. Feeling guilty, he apologizes and promises to give Furball a treat later. As Furball's mood lifts, Cheonsu tells it to attack the officer on the left, while he will take care of the right one. On the count of 3, our boy attacks one officer, but Furball fails to deal with the remaining one. The bros tease him about Furball's affection meter, but our hero has no idea what they mean. Meanwhile, the surviving officer shouts, demanding to know Cheonsu's identity, making it clear that he suspects them of being outsiders. When Cheonsu confirms this, the officer angrily blames him for causing chaos in the airport. He admits he hoped everyone arriving would be killed by the flying monsters, and now that he has found outsiders, he decides they need to be eliminated. Hana struggles to breathe, so our boy demands that the officer let her go. Unexpectedly, Hana takes control, landing a series of kicks and punches from different angles until the officer falls. At that moment, Furball bites the officer's lips. After a second, Cheonsu stops it, saying they still need the officer to answer questions. The bros complain about treating a cop like this, but our protagonist already suspects the man stole the uniform, as he looks too young for such a high rank. When Cheonsu asks about his identity, the man is unable to speak clearly. The only word our hero can make out is vigil. Before he can press for more, the man passes out. Cheonsu complains about how weak he is for fainting so quickly. Before Hana and our boy can have a proper conversation, the second officer comes too. Seeing this, our protagonist quickly forms a plan. Soon after, in a sparkling clean, well-ventilated bathroom, Cheonsu ties the man with the damaged mouth to a toilet seat. The man regains consciousness when our hero splashes water on his face. For some reason, Cheonsu is now wearing a police uniform. Once the man awakens, our hero informs him they are in a bathroom. When the man resists, Cheonsu jokes about robbing him and asks whether the uniform suits him. Ignoring the playful banter from his bros, our boy questions the man about why they are in the airport and living there. The man, however, remains silent and refuses to reveal anything. Cheonsu then threatens him, saying that his friend was misbehaving and has now been sent someplace else. After that, our protagonist begins threatening the restrained man with his axe. Just as the axe is about to strike, the tied man gives in, begs for his life, and decides to divulge everything. The tied man reveals there are around 100 people here, all of them waiting for a bus on the first floor. It turns out the 7.5th Division is supposed to send that bus. The bros point out that he's sharing this information surprisingly quickly. Then the man mentions he has something Cheonsu doesn't, explaining that the 7.5th Division will only let the chosen ones board the bus. Our boy then asks why they are attacking outsiders instead of just getting on the bus. The man reveals that the division won't send the bus anymore because outsiders have mixed in with the chosen ones. However, Cheonsu points out that the 7.5th Division has already abandoned them, and there's no guarantee the bus will really come. For a moment, the tied man becomes furious at being called a liar, although our protagonist is only speaking logically. After that, the man confesses that everyone downstairs is waiting to eliminate outsiders. He smirks, saying the first floor is completely locked and no one can get inside. Cheonsu sees this situation as a survival game, realizing he must escape while avoiding all the enemies. He comments that he's just another person being cast aside as a loser. Our hero wonders aloud if the first floor was locked to control those who arrived first. He theorizes that the path to the runway is purposely left open to lure more people inside and eliminate them. Having learned everything, Cheonsu decides to deal with the man for good. As he strikes, our boy reminds him that they are enemies. After finishing the job, he heads out and finds Hana wearing a police uniform. She mentions she's only using the shirt, while the pants are from a nearby store. Right then, Furball appears, carrying a pair of sunglasses for dogs. It wants our protagonist to put them on for it. Cheonsu realizes Furball is acting this way because of how he treated it back at the helicopter. Furball looks happy wearing the sunglasses. While thinking about what to do next, our hero recalls what Hugh mentioned about the Vigilant group. He considers the possibility that Hugh might be working with that group and decides that something about Hugh is off. Later, at a store, they grab bags. Cheonsu crafts a chain fist weapon for Hana using a chain from another bag, telling her to use it for protection, not to fight any monsters. Now the whole group is ready to head to the third floor. Unexpectedly, they find an overpass connected to the third floor that none of them had seen before. But as they approach, they discover the bridge is completely destroyed. Looking closely, our protagonist concludes this must be the work of the 7.5th Division. Meanwhile, Hana is about to touch a bright red flower, but Cheonsu quickly moves her aside as the flowers lash out at her. The bros explain that these are red DeVille. He instructs Hana not to touch anything that looks unusual. The bros further explain that these are carnivorous plants, capable of paralyzing and eventually consuming someone as they grow. Our hero also realizes these flowers can grow on any surface. They decide to double back and search around the fourth floor. Afterward, Cheonsu enjoys a cup of coffee in the luxury lounge, reflecting that they ended up on the third floor. Since there was nothing on the fourth floor, our protagonist concludes the 7.5th Division didn't do anything to the third or fourth floors. For now, he finds some comfort in the luxury lounge. In the next moment, Hana enters and gives him a chocolate bar. Thinking about the flashlight he got from the chest, Cheonsu suspects the shade monster might appear again. He asks Hana how long she stayed at Myeongseo Elementary and learns it was about 2 or 3 days. One of the bros suggests he resupply before moving on, and meanwhile, Numas donates a zen and recommends Cheonsu head downstairs. With that, our hero decides to make his way to the first floor. The whole group starts making their way toward the first floor. On the way, they find the second floor completely deserted, letting them pass through easily. While heading downstairs, Cheonsu reminds Hana that their goal is to look for a way out, not to get into a fight. As he descends, our boy reflects on how, at the start of this game, he believed survival was his only objective. But now, seeing the 7.5th Division involved in every incident, he feels the need to focus on them and reach their main base as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, 2 men in uniform are coming upstairs, engaged in a conversation about an outsider who was caught. They grin as they discuss the explosions they'd witnessed earlier. Suddenly, they hear the sound of a door closing. They wonder if it's just the wind or if someone left it open. As the two approach the door, Cheonsu suddenly flings it open, slamming it into the man nearest to him. The man loses his balance and tumbles into his companion, sending both men tumbling down the stairs. As they fall, New Master donates 1 zen. It turns out both men are knocked out, but the bros comment that they look dead. Our hero quickly grabs their batons and hands one to Hana. She attaches her chain to the baton so she can use it at least once. Upon reaching the first floor, Furball peeks ahead and signals for them to come, indicating the area is clear. After crossing the corridor, they spot the firefighter who saved them earlier, now being held by several men in police uniforms. One of the men, who appears to be the leader, accuses the firefighter of attempting to get on their bus. Despite the firefighter's protests, the men in uniform ignore him, simply shouting for him to die. The scene sends a chill down our protagonist's spine as all the men shout for the firefighter's execution, and their captain strikes the firefighter, knocking him unconscious. Cheonsu looks for a place to hide but finds nothing, and sees that the exit is guarded. He also isn't sure where his key can be used. Out of nowhere, he remembers a school tour he took here, where the tour guide mentioned something about a solar power plant in the area. An idea forms in his mind. He wants to make the place dark. Suddenly he notices a checkpoint light turn on the opposite side of the hall. Deciding to head there while everyone is focused on the stage, our hero sneaks over, quietly crosses through a door, and passes the checkpoint line. Unfortunately, one man turns around after hearing the door close. At the same time, our boy's shop updates. He checks for any new items and spots one for 25 zen, a uniform badge. This item allows Cheonsu to switch places with anyone wearing the same uniform as him, provided he knows what that person looks like. It can be used 10 times. Our protagonist hesitates, knowing that buying it would leave him with only 6 zen, but he purchases it anyway. Meanwhile, the man who looked back is now knocking on the door. As soon as he opens it, he's instantly teleported to Cheonsu's location, while our hero is teleported to his position. Cheonsu then quickly returns to his group, leaving Hana confused by the sudden switch. He casually brushes it off as magic. Now with only 9 uses of the badge left, and knowing he must recognize the target's face, he decides to use this time to memorize everyone's faces as much as possible. Next, the enemy group's leader announces that the execution will occur at dawn, and orders the firefighter to be locked up until then. Meanwhile, our protagonist wonders about the pilot's whereabouts. He then reassures Hana that they'll be fine since they still have other options. Cheonsu tries to ask his bro how he can escape from this airport. However, the bros don't help him, and one mentions they can't help for free. On the other hand, our protagonist still insists that his mind is stuck somewhere, so he needs their hints to refresh his mind. Then one bro suggests he try opening all the doors with the key, but Cheonsu believes this is the most difficult path. He mentions the sleeping bags present around, guessing there must be more people here besides this vigilante group. Maybe the others will help him when he attacks the vigilantes. Then the bros suggest he should look for other chests like he found on the second floor. But for our boy to risk his life with only 6 zen in hand is too much. Cheonsu thinks deeply that maybe he is not supposed to escape through here, considering the possibility that the things he has been involved with until now would provide a hint. He sighs as he requests his brothers to help him. When no one says anything, he suspects that it's probably something that can be solved with ease if he gets the right hints. When New Master donates 1 zen, he turns to him, asking about hints. The bros point out how he called him New Master, so Cheonsu decides to address him as New only. When New doesn't say a thing, our hero compares all of his bros with Mazed Out Card, who would have helped in this kind of situation. Then New takes the bait and mentions there is indeed a place to use the key, but also says he should stick to his original plan. With that, our protagonist decides to send Hana back to where their helicopter landed. She grows confused, as that helicopter was not in good shape when they landed. On the other hand, our boy points out that they may be able to fix that. When Hana wonders if he is trying to abandon her, Cheonsu sends Furball with her just in case. He decides to stay on the first floor to rescue that firefighter, as he already has a plan. Somewhere else, the firefighter is being dragged to some kind of animal cage. In one cage, there is an old man who is being locked up. As the so-called chosen one leaves, the firefighter tries to escape and keeps shaking the cell, recalling that he chose to go on his own, even though he had the option to go with the pilot. When he tries to communicate with the old man, the elder only hums at first, but then he starts to laugh suspiciously, mentioning that another person has become the sacrificial lamb. The firefighter panics and demands to know how they can escape, but it turns out the elder doesn't know either. Then, as the firefighter begins to shout, calling for help, the elder stops him from doing so. He reveals that he is not an outsider, so he can't die here. He explains that he only ended up here because he tried to stop the other chosen ones from killing a non-chosen person. He adds that the 7.5th Division abandoned them here and promised to take them to the new town. That place is actually their new base, and they have decided to pick those who are useful to them. Then he points out that the firefighter must have come here after hearing a message regarding Jeju Island being safe, though it turns out that it was just a recording the division left at the control tower. The outsiders who listened to that message died, while some of them flew from here using aircraft. Then the elder wonders about the firefighter's friends, but the firefighter mentions he didn't come with friends, and the people who came here with him are not exactly his friends. The old man notices that the firefighter is someone who has saved many people in his life, but now no one is here to help him. The elder decides to tell him something in case he gets a chance to escape. He tells him to head to Youngmun Tourist Center, as he knows the 7.5th Division is heading there, and that place is safer than here. He adds that these chosen ones won't leave this place on their own and will start killing each other as soon as their supplies run out. He hopes for the firefighter to leave before chaos erupts. After a moment, 2 chosen ones come in, and the firefighter panics, slamming on the cell bars. Unfortunately, those 2 men decide to beat him up for the time being. As they try to reach the firefighter, wondering what part of him they should cut first, the old man stops them from tormenting someone for their fun. With that, the 2 chosen ones divert their attention to the elder. They grab him by his clothes. However, the old man smirks before a cracking sound echoes in the room. The vigilantes beat the old man so severely that his head cracks open. Now the firefighter believes he will be their next target. However, just as he is about to be grabbed, one of the vigilantes is stabbed. Surprisingly, it's Hugh who saves the firefighter. He then kicks the other vigilante, slamming him onto the floor. The vigilante calls him a murderer, but Hugh reminds him that they are doing the same thing. As Hugh is about to stab him, that chosen one shoves him back, causing him to fall to the floor. After being punched, Hugh punches back and strikes between his opponent's legs. With the vigilante now completely on the ground, Hugh places his foot on him to keep him down. Then he reassures the firefighter that he doesn't care about him, and explains that he is only against people trying to stay at the airport because he wants to make it his home. The firefighter, however, only sees him as a dangerous person who entered from the ceiling. While kicking the vigilante, Hugh mentions that he is kind to guests who stop by, and adds that he has warned some guests to stay alert because of those vigilantes. The firefighter wonders if he is talking about the pilot or Cheonsu's group. As Hugh prepares to stab the vigilante, our protagonist teleports right into his place, causing Hugh to narrowly miss him. Both are shocked to see each other. The next moment, our boy immediately punches Hugh, mentioning he always got bad vibes from him. Hugh is only concerned about one thing: how did that person just change himself? However, our boy is the only one who knows he has changed places consecutively and ended up here, but he doesn't know how to explain it. Then he lies, saying he was here the whole time, but Hugh grows only more confused. Cheonsu claims he was just pretending to be one of the vigilantes, and Hugh still can't accept it, but our boy keeps insisting it's true. As Hugh starts looking at him with a weird expression, our protagonist wonders if he will be eliminated as well. Hugh mentions he just said he doesn't have anything against guests who are just passing by. However, our boy doesn't remember that because he swapped places after that, so he insists Hugh should tell him, since he doesn't have time to waste. Although his bros explain Hugh was never a danger to him and is only a homeless guy, to our hero the name Hugh Howard Holmes is always a red flag. The name H. Holmes is similar to that serial killer who built a hotel in America and eliminated his guests. But then he thinks maybe this Hugh guy isn't exactly the same kind of person, since both have different first names. Meanwhile, Hugh scratches his head, unable to understand what just happened, and our boy points out that he is clearly not in his right mind. Finally, Hugh considers it, since there isn't another explanation as logical as this one. Then our protagonist advises him to go back and not bother more people. Hugh finally leaves by going back through the ceiling, and then our hero regrets it a bit as he doesn't find the pilot along with the firefighter. Unexpectedly, Cheonsu hears vigilantes walking outside, since they have found one of their men unconscious. Meanwhile, our hero realizes they have found the guy he swapped places with. Cheonsu shouts for the firefighter to hurry up and get out. With the help of Hugh, both of them manage to climb up to the ceiling. While on the runway, Hana, along with Furball, finds the pilot. She explains that the people at the airport are dangerous. Therefore, Cheonsu told her to ask for help. It turns out the pilot has decided to leave, but he was having difficulty fixing the helicopter. Then Hana decides to help him by handing him the tools. Meanwhile, the pilot plans on checking the control rod before leaving, while she wants to at least make the helicopter into a shape that can help them get out of the airport. Out of nowhere, they feel tremors. After a moment of silence passes by, the terrible sounds start coming their way. Unexpectedly, the waves have reached the runway. This makes the pilot decide to leave immediately. He knows something is coming their way, which is why they need to leave as soon as possible and get as far as the helicopter can take them. Hana protests because she wants him to wait for Cheonsu. When the pilot insists they can't, Furball snarls at him. The pilot gets a bit nervous and tells Hana to calm the dog, but Hana mentions it only listens to Cheonsu. The pilot grits his teeth as the waves are just about to reach them. And just then, a tentacle of the Kraken appears, coming out of the water. The pilot immediately starts taking off, as he insists they can't wait any longer because they will get swept away. Furball growls aggressively, and the pilot tells it to find its owner as soon as possible. Until then, he will try to keep them airborne. As the pilot instructs Furball to guide our protagonist to the roof, Furball leaves immediately. After a couple of minutes, the dog finds Cheonsu and barks to tell him something. Our hero immediately realizes that these tremors are due to the presence of the Kraken. Meanwhile, the bros remind him that no one talked about the creature only being present in the ocean. On the other hand, Hugh is only concerned about his home collapsing, but our boy reminds him not to talk like they are already friends. Meanwhile, the firefighter reminds them to focus on their survival. Then our hero asks Furball about Hana, but Furball can only bark, which makes Cheonsu lose his brain. When Cheonsu asks if they have found the pilot, Furball nods. With that, our boy steps ahead toward the runway, but Furball grabs him to pull him. After falling on the floor, the dog tries telling Cheonsu by pointing toward the roof, and our hero understands that the pilot has already taken off and they need to head to the roof. But as the whole group runs ahead, the captain of the vigilante group, along with his men, blocks their way. Meanwhile, another group of men blocks them from behind as well. The captain is determined not to let them leave after they have made a mockery out of his group. Then our hero jokingly offers to give them Hugh in exchange for letting the rest go, and Hugh regrets saving him earlier. With no choice left, Cheonsu orders Furball to eliminate everyone getting in their way. Suddenly, Cheonsu swaps his place with a vigilante, leaving everyone in shock. In the next moment, he eliminates a man standing right behind the captain's back. The enemy group begins to panic while the captain feels a chill run through him. As our boy takes down more adversaries, he casually mentions that he is just a cosplayer. Using his swapping ability again, Cheonsu is left with 4 swaps remaining. Unfortunately, before he can eliminate the captain, the man flees and abandons his team. Afterward, Cheonsu continues to eliminate more men, with Furball assisting him. As they fight their way forward, they reach a door that is locked from inside by the captain. After being mocked, our hero swaps his place with the captain and opens the door from the inside. Before the captain can even process how he ended up on the other side, our boy strikes him down. The remaining vigilantes are terrified, and Cheonsu declares that they are leaving for good. In the next moment, the group runs upstairs, and Cheonsu is confused as to why Hugh is still following them. Hugh explains that he is still searching for a place to call home, and he's also curious about the magic Cheonsu used a moment ago. Finally, they reach the door to the rooftop. Cheonsu wonders if the key he obtained is for this door, but when he gets there, he sees it is already open. Before he can think any further, he notices the massive body of the Kraken approaching. Everyone in the group thinks they are done for, but then they spot the helicopter hovering above them. Unfortunately, the helicopter is not functioning properly. Seeing this, Hugh observes that death awaits anyone who boards it. Meanwhile, the Kraken is just about to strike, and our hero yells for Hana to throw down a rope. After that, he asks his bros about the Hell Moss, wanting to confirm if, after transforming into a moss ball, its spores explode and destroy one's lungs. He wonders about the effects on other parts of the body. The bros are confused about why our boy is asking now, but he urges them for an explanation. One bro explains that contact with the mucous membranes is also dangerous, and the gas it emits will cause pain as long as it remains inside someone's body. In the next moment, the Kraken hits the roof, causing the group to lose their balance. Cheonsu then yells up to Hana, telling her they are fine for now, but she needs to convince the pilot. Meanwhile, the Hell Moss, after turning into a moss ball, explodes near the Kraken's body. Now our protagonist group has a chance to escape. The rope drops, and he climbs up, reaching back to help the firefighter. To his surprise, Hugh grabs his hand first, climbing up as our hero ascends a bit further. After that, the firefighter and then Furball grab the rope. The helicopter takes off, but with its unstable balance, our boy has difficulty holding on. The entire group struggles to keep their grip, and Furball barely manages to save himself from a red DeVille. As they move through the woods, the helicopter's altitude drops. Cheonsu notes that the helicopter won't last much longer, so he shouts for everyone to jump. First, Furball jumps, then the firefighter, followed by Hugh and finally Cheonsu. Meanwhile, Hana and the pilot are still inside the helicopter. As the helicopter loses all its functions, it crashes nearby. Furball finds Hana buried under the soil, and our boy immediately pulls her out. However, the pilot is still missing, so Furball sniffs around and finds the pilot as well. Fortunately, he is alive. After that, they see the Kraken destroying the airport as it moves forward. To save themselves, the whole group starts running in the opposite direction. Fortunately, they see a van stopping nearby. It has a yellow license plate, which means it's a taxi. The driver inside looks at the Kraken destroying everything in its path. As Hugh calls for everyone to get in the van, the driver protests, wanting to know their identities first, since he's assigned to pick up someone. Hana insists they should be let in or everyone will die. When the driver protests further, Hugh grabs him and throws him out of the van. The pilot takes the driver's seat and everyone rushes inside. As Hugh is about to beat the driver, our protagonist stops him, pointing out that the driver is not their enemy. After getting in, Cheonsu figures he might be able to use Hugh to his advantage, so he tells him to go with the driver and look for his new home. The pilot starts driving once everyone is inside. The Kraken has reached the road, and the pilot takes sharp turns to dodge debris. One bro praises the pilot's skills, and our hero admits he knew the pilot was skilled when he saw him flying the helicopter. After some time, they finally manage to leave the Kraken behind, and Hana sighs in relief. Our boy sincerely thanks the pilot for saving them. He thinks about how the pilot could have abandoned them to save himself, but he decided to help everyone. He asks the pilot's name and learns it is Byung-hun Jeon. In return, he introduces himself as well. Then he turns to the firefighter and learns his name is Yoon-jae So. Cheonsu observes the taxi driver, noticing that he is wearing a taxi driver's uniform. Curious, he asks who paid him to pick someone up from the airport, and wonders if they are from the 7.5th Division. He believes that the person who paid must know about people left behind at the airport, but deep down, our protagonist knows the 7.5th Division isn't generous enough to pay for someone's pickup. The driver mentions that someone else hired him, a couple who paid him to pick up an old man. When our hero asks how much he is being paid, he's shocked to hear the taxi driver say he received $300,000. It turns out that dollars still have value in the current situation, and the driver needed the money to get a spot on a boat leaving with his family. Cheonsu is surprised, knowing that the 7.5th Division has set up a base in Jeju Island. Surprisingly, the driver knows nothing about that and says he's come from Chagwido Island for this job. Chagwido Island is actually to the west of Jeju Island. Meanwhile, Hugh senses something is off. The driver was sent to pick someone up without knowing anything about the 7.5th Division. Immediately, the driver shows a photograph of the old man he was supposed to pick up. Yoonjae instantly recognizes the elderly man. He was held prisoner with him. The driver gets a chill as he realizes the old man isn't with them, which can mean only one thing. Hugh says the man was dead before he found him, and Yoonjae confirms this, adding that the old man died saving him. The driver reacts hopelessly, his last hope shattered. The way he reacts convinces our hero that he isn't lying. Then Cheonsu asks about the couple who hired the driver. He mentions the couple was in Jeju Island and had become friends with the old man. After finding the people at the airport strange, they left the old man behind as he was too sick to travel. They promised to send someone for him later. However, Yoonjae mentions that the old man said the 7.5th Division has stationed in Yungmun Tourist Complex and is planning to build a place called Newtown. The old man told Yoonjae to go there, saying the place is safe. Learning this, Cheonsu wonders why the old man didn't tell Yoonjae he would be joining a couple soon. The bros point out that maybe he didn't trust the couple and only shared that information with Yoonjae because of that. One bro wonders if our hero is heading to Chagwido Island or Newtown.